KNUS. I'm co-host Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy.
How's your weekend?
We got a lot of ranch work done, man.
Did you? Hey, tell me what you did. What'd you do?
The sun was shining.
Yeah, it was
springtime, so we had everything to do. We had to fix turnouts where our dogs run. Been digging. So had to bring in some fill dirt and put that all in, and then lay some pavers where they tried to dig.
Oh, nice.
So that they
digging,
stop digging there, to cleaning and mucking stalls, to mending fences, to cleaning chicken coops.
Nice.
The amount of chicken.
And you don't eat the eggs.
We don't, which is funny.
It's so funny.
But the amount of chicken expletive.
They're messy. Oh, they're messy. They are really
up.
Messy. That's the thing that people talk about. I remember the changing of some of the suburban rules about now we can have chickens in the backyard. And I have a friend that put chickens in the backyard, and it's great, and they get the eggs, and like, yeah, but you know how much cleaner it is, right? Yeah. And they didn't know at first, and now they're into it and they're okay. But at first, like, oh my Lord, I'm like, I know it is not for the faint of heart.
We got little free range chickens, so they run all around.
Yeah,
so it's not too bad. But
you think geese are bad? Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Not even close.
Exactly.
Not even close. There are times you think the chickens are running around with a shaking their rear ends just because they want to throw it everywhere. You're just trying to make this harder.
And you and your mom getting everything organized.
Oh, yeah. Mom's moving this week. And so the kids were over along with my wife. And I think my wife had the best line yesterday. She wakes up and she goes, oh, all of my bendy parts hurt because it was just so much work. I mean, just and it's just the just lifting things and moving and having to store stuff and trying to sort through things, and it's downsizing is tough. Anybody that has gone through that understands how hard it is, because certain things that you have to choose to bring with you and not. And the lucky thing is she's going to have the house for a few more weeks afterwards, so we're going to be able to go back or bring things back, and so. Yeah, but it was a big one. Yeah, I'm hauling things upstairs and
the IKEA. How'd IKEA go?
IKEA was fun. That was actually very funny. We had a great time. Showed up, and this is the fun part: is that we get there at the beginning, and my mom's trying to navigate. I'm like, no, come here and here and here, and she's like, but how do I need to get? I'm like, just trust me. Go here and I'll find you. And eventually she comes to the front door and I find her. And I ask her, do you want to go ahead and eat? Because it's great to eat here. And
eat first.
Yeah. And she's like, no. Let's just keep going. Okay. And her left knee was bothering her. So we weren't sure how long we wanted to go. And I said, listen, this is kind of a long march and we're going to get through some things. And I don't really know where one of the items is. So we're going through, and early on we see one of the shelving systems and it looks really good. So it's a really good idea. Then we start going through other places and she gets some ideas. And then we get about 3/4 of the way through and she's like, I'm kind of hungry. Like, that's not the time when we're here near that's the beginning time, not the now.
Do you know how far away we are?
Like, you have any idea how far? And I'm like, okay, fine. So we find the wonderful people in the yellow shirts, and they're really, really nice. And IKEA does a great job training their floor people. They really, really do. And so come over and I ask, hey, I need some help. I need to find this specific closet system, and then I need to get back to the cafeteria. And she goes, oh my goodness. She goes, wow. This is really lucky, because unfortunately, the closet system you're looking for is at the very, 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 very end of what you're doing right now. However, once you're there, turn the corner here, and instead of going right, go left.
Password.
Yep. And she goes, you'll walk right into the restaurant. I'm like, what? She goes, yes. You actually are going to do the entire circle around here, and then what you're going to be able to do is once you look at that, you then, instead of going here, right where everybody else goes, you go to the left, and you're at the restaurant. So I'm like, oh, you have saved my life. So it was really nice, and I think the closet systems are going to work, but we're going to have to see. And she got some shelves and things that from the house that she's bringing over. So I have a feeling we're going to be Frankensteining some stuff together, but it was good. Oh, and we get to the cafeteria at I.C.E, and I'm walking through, and she starts over at the counter where they have the sandwiches and the salads. I'm like, no, you're coming here, and we're doing Swedish meatballs. She goes, but what if I want to? I don't care. I'm like, listen, it's a rule. First time at I.C.E, you got to do the Swedish meatballs, and you get it like the picture. You don't add anything else. You don't take anything away. You get it like the picture because that's just what you do. And she goes, fine. I go, and also we have to get the lingonberry soda. I'm choosing this. And she goes, fine. So, and it was 50% off on Friday. So again, tip, if you want to do that, go ahead. And so she's looking at going, that's a lot of food, and can't do this. And then the potatoes. And so we sit down, we start talking about the shelves there. And sooner or later, someone has cleaned her plate. It is completely gone.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it was the first time that she put the Swedish meatball into a little bit of the cranberry sauce and then had it, and she stopped and she goes, oh, this is really good. I'm like, I know. See, I go, this is why you have to do it first time here. And so she was really happy with it. But yeah, it was one of those that the whole time she's like, but what if I want to have the sandwich? I'm like, no, it doesn't matter. You can choose the sandwich second time. First time, have to do Swedish meatballs, and you do it like the picture. It's the only way. It's like a rule. It should be a rule first time at I.C.E.
You're
be a punch card or something.
Son, Bill. You're a good son. Way to take her.
She did not always agree with that sentiment. Friday through Sunday, there were moments in which I was going to get kicked out of the will, and I might have deserved it. But yes, it was really good. It was nice, and just a lot of work. And again, like you, family work. A lot of work together with the family, which is cool. Yeah, that's kind of nice.
No, I'm actually sore.
That's good.
Ultra Cur is coming to the rescue for me.
Oh yeah, me too.
Right, let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, guys. Good to talk to you. 43 and clear in Denver, expecting sunny skies and highs in the upper 70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story on tax day, April 15th, the state assault weapons ban bill has passed the House and is now on its way to the Colorado Senate. It passed on a 35-27 vote. It would ban the manufacture, purchase, sale, or transfer of what they call assault weapons. The debate lasted 3 hours. No shocker, Democrat Tim Hernandez, one of the sponsors.
This is the first time in Colorado history that we have considered a prohibition on the sale of assault weapons in the House chamber.
One teen has been arrested in Denver in the investigation of a manslaughter related to the shooting of a teenage boy on Friday in downtown Denver. The boy died at the hospital. Police say the suspect and victim knew each other. One woman has been arrested after a crash that seriously injured 3 people in downtown Denver over the weekend. She crashed her vehicle into a Starbucks near 17th and Broadway. The 3 people were passengers in the vehicle. A small plane had to make an emergency landing on 287 east of Niwot on Sunday. It was headed to Broomfield from Cheyenne and experienced mechanical failure. And I have no idea how no one was hurt in that one. The mainstream media is going to go crazy today again over former President Trump's latest political hit job. Jury selection begins today in the New York hush money case. He'll lose that one because it's another left-leaning court, and then Trump will appeal, and the campaign will continue. That's what's going to happen. Iran attacks Israel, and they intercepted 99% of the drones and missiles over the weekend, thankfully. And still, questions on Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, supposed to be a conservative, and then starts losing his spine when it comes to preventing the feds from spying on Americans without a warrant. Rand Paul on Fox over the weekend.
He's the leader of his party, and he's not voting with us. So the majority of the Republicans were for a warrant requirement. The majority of the Republicans were not for having a deficit of $1.5 trillion, and yet he's siding with the Democrats. That's ineffective leadership. And if he wants to remain Speaker, frankly, he's going to do better because, I wanted to give him a break, and I have for a couple months. This is the first time I've really spoken out. But somebody, I mean, the speaker's got to be a speaker. He's got to be a leader of his party, not a capitulator to the other party.
Johnson met with Trump Friday, and Trump wisely playing it cool right now, but keep an eye on Johnson. That's what I say. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 38 in Parker, 39 in Broomfield, 43 in Denver right now. Scotty Scheffler wins the Masters, his second green jacket in 3 years. Finished 11 under. Good dude. Puts God first. Reigning world champion Nuggets tip off their playoff run Saturday. They beat the Grizzlies last night, and they'll be the second seed. The Avs close out the regular season Thursday in Lodo against the Oilers. The Rockies at the Phillies today. They lost to the Blue Jays 5-0 Sunday. They are 4-12, but it's early. Congrats to the DU Pioneers, won their 10th national championship over BC. Tonight, they continue to celebrate at Magnus Arena. Yuck, it's tax day. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for a strong ridge of high pressure to develop, bringing beautiful spring weather to Denver in the Front Range through the weekend. Enjoy. Temperatures today, Saturday, and Sunday will be in the 70s, overnight lows 40s, through Sunday dry. Monday will continue to be mild, low 70s, afternoon showers and even some thunder possible late Monday afternoon and evening. Then Monday night and Tuesday trending cooler with developing showers. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Blake, that was a lot of great news. Thanks for covering all of that. Speaking of news, Geoge Teal, Douglas County Commissioner, let me know that they're going to do a press conference later today. They are suing the state to be able to enforce laws, allow local law enforcement to work with immigration authorities. Joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show is Geoge Teal. George, thanks so much for being on the program.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jeff.
So give us a preview of what's going to happen later this morning.
Yeah, so at 10 o'clock, we're going to have a news conference at the Miller Building in Douglas County Miller Building in Castle Rock. We're going to initiate a lawsuit against the state of Colorado. We're suing under two provisions to overturn House Bill 19-1124 from 2019 and HB 23-1100. And both of these limit the ability of local law enforcement to work with immigration authorities. You know, we're in the middle of an illegal immigration crisis, Jeff, that terrorists are infiltrating our southern border. People on the terrorist watch list. You know who's catching them? It's not the federal authorities, it's local law enforcement. And here in Colorado, this is a huge blind spot. It goes to national security. It goes to just keeping our streets safe. And right now, Colorado law prevents local law enforcement from participating in these kind of activities. We're going to sue the state and see if we can get these laws thrown out.
The sheriff of Douglas County is Sheriff Darren Weekly. Have you heard directly from the sheriff that this is a problem that he needs your help to address?
Oh, yeah. It's a huge blind spot. And it's not just the sheriff that we hear from. We've been hearing this from our police chiefs, from our police that are on the street, the supervisors for years now, Jeff.
And what kind of problems are they running into with illegal immigrants that they feel like they need to be able to work with federal immigration law enforcement?
Well, when you approach an individual, and let's say it's just a simple traffic stop, you could our police are telling us that these are individuals that are obviously foreigners. They probably don't understand traffic laws. And then, of course, we all know that the car theft epidemic that we're having here in Colorado, these are not individuals that are just stealing cars. The stealing cars is like the main job, and they're entrepreneurs, and they've got side jobs. They're stealing from liquor stores, they're stealing from grocery stores, they're stealing from Walmart, all the while that they're out trying to work for their boss, stealing cars. And so when you deal with the immigration piece and throw that in the mix, and you've got somebody that showed probable cause to be approached by law enforcement, and then you get them, and it could be as simple as getting them off the street by doing a quick check of their immigration status. Right now, the police can't take that extra step. And so here are individuals, they were doing something that gave probable cause to approach. And even if you can't establish any further reason to proceed in a criminal matter, and these are police that are talking to people all day long, they're approaching drivers, they're approaching individuals, and they know something's not right. They just can't take that extra step to check an immigration status and look to get somebody who is acting suspicious off the street.
Talking with Geoge Teal. He's a Douglas County Commissioner. Later this morning at 10 a.m., Douglas County is going to announce a lawsuit against the state of Colorado with regards to its ability to be able to work directly with federal immigration authorities. George, where do you hope this will go? Or let's start with the process. Which court are you suing in? And what's the next steps for this to work its way up through the state?
Well, this does need to start in Denver District Court because it's a challenge to laws passed by the state legislature. So it has to start there. And we know that we're probably going to get challenged for summary judgment. That's the first thing an opposing lawyer does, I guess, is say, nuh-uh, you can't do that. And so we're expecting that challenge. We're joined in our lawsuit by the El Paso County Commissioners. When we get through the first challenge for summary judgment, we have a laundry list of counties and municipalities across the state who are just aching to join us on this because their police operations have been affected as well. And then this is probably not going to be a quick one. This may be one that lasts most of this year until we get any sort of serious judgment. And who knows, it could have lasted to next year as well if the appeals process is engaged.
And if at the end of this, you all are able to be successful, what does that look like? What does that look like for the people of Douglas County and El Paso County, the citizens, the law enforcement? What's the end goal here?
Well, basically, it makes us like every other non-illegal immigration sanctuary state in the union, where our local law enforcement can participate with federal immigration authorities to go ahead and be able to track down. All these Venezuelan immigrants, a lot of them are coming in on requests for asylum. That's not an instantaneous process. Every asylum case is adjudicated, and sometimes it's yes, you've got asylum, sometimes it's no. But the policies of the Biden administration have been to just let all these people in. Trump was keeping them on the other side of the border in Mexico. Biden's just let them in. And then they're dispersing because Governor Abbott knows that they're overwhelming those local communities against the border. Well, where'd they go, Jeff? They've gone to New York. They've gone to LA. They've gone to Denver, Colorado. They've dispersed across the entire country. We need our local law enforcement to be able to work with federal authorities that when these people do something wrong, it can be brought to the federal authorities' knowledge. And these are people that can be either deported because their asylum requests were revoked, or, well, then they can be processed back in the system and get on the path to legal immigration.
Geoge Teal, Douglas County Commissioner, joining Jeff and Bill this morning, and just announced that they are going to be suing the state to allow their local law enforcement to work with federal ICE officials and to try to overturn some local Colorado state legislation. Got a question for you, sir. Do you have any sort of a sketch as far as the contacts police are making on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? What percentage of that are illegals, and what percentage of the ones suspected of crime are illegals? Do you have any numbers based on how significant of a problem this is?
No, because these two laws exist. The police can't even double check it. The police can't even say, oh, hey, here's an illegal immigrant. We should go to the federal authorities. HB 2018-1124 prevents local police from even doing that check. So it's like asking an atheist how many times they've been to church. They haven't. How many, asking an atheist how many times they've read the Bible. They haven't. Or they read it once and then they never went back. Because it prevents even collecting that information, Bill.
All right, George, are you there?
Here I am, guys.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, no worries. Please continue.
Well, yeah, just to expand upon that answer, I mean, you don't even know how many times illegal immigrants are approached when you can't even check that status.
That's right.
And so it's a very salient question. It goes to the frequency, but you can't even know it because HB 1124 is in place.
George Teal, Dougals County Commissioner, recently you all passed a bill or a law or ordinance that buses were not going to be allowed to drop off illegal immigrants in the county. How's that been working out for y'all?
Well, we think it's been working great. The reality is that was more of a preemptive law. We know we've seen in the Chicago area where Chicago is turning away these buses of immigrants from Texas. And because they're being stopped just as they're about to drive across the Cook County line, those buses are just turning around at an interchange and then going down into the county south of Chicago and unloading because they can't take them back to Texas. And so we know this is happening. We know the most direct route from El Paso, Texas, the city of El Paso, Texas, to Denver is along I-25. And, Dougals County is one of those counties directly south of Denver. And we know that Denver employees right now are telling migrants, you can't stay here. There are no resources for you.
Right.
You have to leave. How soon before they start telling these buses coming in, hey, you can't come here. You need to stop and you need to unload and take that empty bus back to Texas. So we know what's happening elsewhere. We're getting ready here.
What did you think last week, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston announcing a $90 million full comprehensive plan for asylum seekers and illegal immigrants? If you come to Denver, you're going to get 6 months of an apartment. We're going to hand you a debit card with money for food and personal items. By the way, 20 hours of legal service. Here you go. And here's workforce training so that you can get a job in America. You are a county commissioner of a surrounding county just outside Denver. When you saw that plan last week unveiled by the mayor of Denver, what were your thoughts?
My first thought was at least it's not 180 million like he was talking about earlier. And all for the low price of cutting services for the people who already live here.
Yeah,
was pretty apparent. I mean, is that really the way we're supposed to live here in America? And I understand we're a nation of immigrants. My own grandfather was an immigrant to this country from Scotland. When he was 16 years old, came over with his whole family. I understand that, but it's never been about depriving those of us who live here now of the services that we're paying for with our own tax dollars. And when I see Denver making that big change to their budget, that big allocation, and in order to, make a place for these people, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know how I'm going to do it with the budget here in Douglas County. And sure, it's $600 million is our budget this year here in the county, and that sounds like a lot of money. But when you factor out that a lot of that budget goes to the payroll of our own employees that are providing the services to the people of Douglas County directly, and then everything that goes along with it, from the facilities, which there are no Taj Mahals in Douglas County. Most of our facilities are still 10, 20 years old. When it's not like we have a huge health department. We're still saving $1 million after we kick Tri-County Health out. We're still saving $1 million a year in our health department. So we're very fiscally minded. And we're even giving back property tax refunds. When a Douglas County resident pays their property tax, they're going to get a refund check. Later this week, we're going to be reviewing the first list of people that paid their taxes in April, their property taxes, and we're already getting ready to cut them refund checks next month. I look at those kind of things that we're doing for the people of Douglas County, and I don't know how we would carve out pieces of the budget in order to provide for these new migrants that are essentially just being foisted on us by bad federal immigration policy at the border.
It is amazing to see just the difference in leadership that takes place in the city of Denver. You have Mike Johnston. You have all those plans that he just put together that I mentioned. You have the Aurora City Council saying we're going to put our citizens first. You have Douglas County saying we're going to put our citizens first. I think you have a clear contrast in conservative versus leftist leadership. And you're going to see which communities turn out the best. And we even put that out there that there's kind of a bet going on here. And Mike Johnston picked up on that. He said that he bets that Denver is going to be better because we're going to integrate illegal immigration into the general operations of the city. And you all are not. And I think the voters of Colorado, I sure hope the voters of Colorado are paying attention, because you can see a clear contrast in leadership, focus, determination, and ultimately what that means for the leadership or for the people that live in those communities. So, George, I really appreciate you being on the forefront of this, being the tip of the spear, fighting back against these laws. Look, just this last week, we had on Friday or yesterday, this gun law that got passed down at the state capitol that's going to restrict quote unquote assault weapons. We're at a place in Colorado where you have to sue your way out of these kind of unconstitutional bad laws that are passed by radical leftists. So, George, I'm glad that you and the other county commissioners in Douglas County and Elbert County are willing to push back on the state to fight for what's right for the people of Colorado.
Yeah, we absolutely are, fellas. We're willing to do all we can do. I know there might be some residents of Douglas County that are wondering, hey, what's this going to cost us? We're going to go ahead, and most of this work has been done in-house. But the bottom line is we're fighting for principles. We're fighting for the constitutional right given every local community. Not faceless bureaucrats, but the people that you meet in King Soopers that you elected to represent you. Those local community leaders have a right to protect those communities. It's guaranteed in the state constitution, and we're fighting for it every day. And this lawsuit is just one more step to fight for the people of Douglas County.
George Teal, Douglas County Commissioner, will continue to watch this. Thanks for giving us a heads up. And
thank you.
We'll wish you the best with this case. Keep us updated as it moves forward.
Absolutely will do, Jeff. Thanks, fellas. Appreciate you having us on to spread the word.
Thank you, George. Thanks. All right. That'll be interesting. I mean, in light of what happened yesterday down at the state capitol and the quote unquote assault weapons ban, this is, you go back to Jack Phillips, you go back to 303 Creative, you go back to Donald Trump on the ballot. It's just like, man, we've become a very litigious state.
Yeah, we have. And I like the idea that he's suing the state to allow their local law enforcement to connect with ICE and immigration. I think it was silly to not let them talk to each other.
To ban them from being able to do that?
The weird part, though, is that we don't know. There's this assumption that it is a large problem. And I'm curious to see how large of a problem it is. I'm not saying it isn't a problem, nor am I saying it is a tiny problem. It is a problem, but I'm wondering about significance. And that's why I was curious. The question I asked for George was, how large do we think this is?
Yeah.
We don't have any, and he said we don't have any idea. And so that I'm curious about, because we're going to sue the state to try and solve a problem that we don't know how large it is. But again, we don't know because of the system. Yeah. So we have to. So I agree with what they're doing, but it's weird. It's a weird solution because we have no idea.
That's an issue they're going to run into with the court case, right?
Yes, it will.
Proving that there's a necessity to do it. Well, we don't have the numbers.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they're not allowed to collect the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I still think that in this type of a case, maybe, just maybe, there should have been some informal data collection with the law enforcement. Just saying, hey, Sergeant is saying that an estimate by his officers are about here. We don't know for certain, but since we don't have any numbers, each officer is saying, I'm guessing this many contacts a day, or just have them watch over the course of 60 days or 90 days, whatever it is. And again, it's informal. It's not allowed. So you're not presenting it necessarily in a formal setting, but you can say, this is what we kind of think is happening based on our experience. But we don't even have that, which is silly. It hurts it.
Hey, folks, it's Jeff on behalf of the Colorado Farm Bureau. Whether you pulled out your skis or snowmobiles this last winter, it was a great year for winter fun, but the snow means even more to Colorado agriculture, and I want you to know that our state's farmers and ranchers are doing their part to protect our future water resources. The people of Colorado agriculture continue improving the efficiency of their irrigation systems and adopting farming practices that help crops use less water to grow. They're planting drought-resistant variants, and they're leading talks with state policymakers about how to preserve water supplies when we have good years like this last one. That's a big deal. Like in California, for instance, they don't build the ability to store it, so they get these big snow years, and it just runs right into the ocean. So building water supplies, preserving it is critical. That's why Colorado Farm Bureau are leaders in water conservation and water policy. They understand how to balance water for crops and water for families, and they're doing more with less. You can do your part. I recommend you join and become a member today. Go to coloradofarmbureau.com. That's coloradofarmbureau.com to join them. When we come back, you choose the news. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. President Joe Biden has told Israel's leader the United States will not get involved in any tit-for-tat strikes against Iran. That's as G7 leaders have condemned Iran's drone attack against Israel and reaffirmed their commitment to the country's security. Our Washington correspondent Jagrudi Dave has more.
In a statement, the Group of Seven, which includes the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and the European Union, said with its actions, Iran has further stepped towards the destabilization of the region. The leaders said they're working on avoiding this and to stabilize the situation, and have demanded that Iran and its proxies cease their attacks. The White House's National Security Council coordinator John Kirby said it's up to Israel how it responds to Iran's attacks. But US officials have said that Joe Biden has called on Israel to think carefully about its next move.
2 officers from upstate New York have died after shots were fired while they were investigating a stolen vehicle overnight. Both were taken to Syracuse University Hospital in a critical condition, but were later pronounced dead by doctors. The prime suspect in the shooting was found dead at the scene. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Just heard from Geoge Teal at Dougals County Commissioner. They are announcing a lawsuit 10 a.m. this morning. They are suing the state of Colorado for preventing them from working, local law enforcement from working with federal law enforcement agencies. So, for instance, the sheriff of Douglas County is prevented from working with ICE because of Colorado law, 19-11-24 and 23-1100. So, if you missed that, go listen to the podcast. That was a great conversation. Great to get some breaking news even before the rest.
So cool.
Do. So, George, thanks for giving us a heads up on that. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Blake, what are you working on, my friend?
Yeah, that's great stuff. Half of taxpayers in Colorado don't have their Tabor refund. You have to have lived here for a year, and you have to have filed. Also, we'll talk about the assault weapons ban bill that has passed the House and now goes on to the Senate. That and much more coming up.
Blake, I got to tell you a story about that. We were down Friday at the state capitol for the March for Life, and so we went in to watch the debate. You'll be proud of my daughter on this one. Okay.
All right.
So we go into the gallery and we watch the House debate there. And she notices that nobody's paying attention to anybody speaking.
Really?
So when they go up to give their speech about it, everybody else is just surfing their phones. Like Brianna Titone was just sitting there surfing his phone. And then everybody else was just kind of milling about, not paying attention. She goes, why don't they listen to each other? And I go, well, because they already know how they're going to vote. And she goes, they know how they're going to vote before they finish debating? And I go, yeah. And she goes, well, why is that? And I said, well, let me explain to you how people get elected. So a special interest group comes to them and gives them a hefty campaign donation and says, essentially, when you get into office, we sure hope you're going to represent us and our positions. And then when they get elected, those organizations even write the bills for the lawmakers. So they know how they vote. Wow. The bills are already written, all that stuff. And she turns to me and she goes, well, Dad, that sounds like the system's rigged. And I go,
smart girl.
From the mouth of a 15-year-old.
Wow.
Yes, they know the
awesome.
System is rigged.
Wow. So. She'll be voting for Trump then in a few years.
So. That's right.
That's awesome. You should be proud. I'm proud of her. I don't even know her. I'm proud of her. Sure is rigged. I'm right there with her.
Well, it's tax day. We're going to get into taxes later. David Williams, not the chairman of the GOP, but a different David Williams, the president of Taxpayer Protection Alliance, is going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, the editor of the Intermountain Jewish News, at 8 to dive into all the Israel stuff. So it's going to be a full show today. But of course, crowd favorite segment, You Choose the News, Bill.
Yes. It is that time of the morning where we stop doing the serious stuff and get to be a little bit silly because the people in charge are not awake yet. It's what we call You Choose the News, everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. We have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning. Here are the papers to find really stupid stories about us humans, giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game. Why, again? Because nobody in charge knows we're doing it, so it is a secret. Alrighty. Blake Olson and Jeff Hunt are joining us to make our choices this morning on a Monday, gentlemen. Here are your stories. Headline number 1, good reminder for everyone. Headline number 2, making the obvious choice. Headline number 3, Ferris Bueller approved. And headline number 4, soon we'll all be homeless. Alrighty, Jeff, please choose.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Ferris Bueller approved. Please.
Ferris Bueller approved. Here we are going to Baldwinsville, New York. A student at Baldwinsville C.W. Baker High School has pulled a Ferris Bueller and gotten the principal fired. Well, actually resigned. The 17-year-old boy created a fake profile, including email address and such, and eventually created what looked like some official documents and faxed them into the school, saying that the principal is quitting. Yeah, and they said, wait a minute. And so for about half an hour or so, there was kind of a rigmarole running around trying to figure out if the principal is really quitting, and no, he isn't. And the 17-year-old is now getting up close and personal with the local police department. That's illegal. So yes.
So
but
he didn't resign in real life. That was all.
Yeah,
okay.
he just created a fake profile, fake person, and then he sent in. Yeah, he
But
sent
why
in
did
a total
he do
fake
that
resignation.
To try to get the.
I assume he was trying to remove his nemesis from the
Right.
scene. I'm guessing. But again, he thought about it. He's like, no, I'm going to make him quit. And then you're like, well, I don't think you thought this all the way through, etc. The thing that I can't figure out is that the fake letters, he faxed them to the school. Who has a fax machine?
Right.
Who still?
And
Who
still
has a
is
fax
the
machine?
Ability to receive a fax.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
What happens here? Does that explain anything about our educational system that we're still in the fax machine as our technology we're using? I don't know. All righty, second choice, sir. Good reminder for everyone, making the obvious choice or soon we'll all be homeless.
Soon we'll all be homeless. It's tax day.
Yes, soon we will all be homeless, especially if you try to buy a house in San Jose. And this one is a special audio report to us from a local San Jose newsroom. Take it away, sir.
384 square feet, $1.7 million. Both, let's be honest, small numbers for a home on the Cupertino-Los Altos border.
It is the lowest priced single-family house in Cupertino. It's also the smallest.
But this little abode, built back in 1948 as a hunting lodge, found its way onto the market and got a lot of attention.
Highly desirable location, great neighborhood. You're at the end of the cul-de-sac, and property values around you are in the 4 and 5 million range.
A house like this used to be known as a starter home, but around here, the starter home may be a thing of the past. Look at this data from Redfin. The real estate company found you need to make more than $300,000 a year to afford a so-called starter home in the North or South Bay. That's not what starter traditionally means.
Yeah. So
how many square feet was that?
384 total square feet. Sold for more than $2 million. We don't know exactly yet.
Hunting lodge on a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, originally. Now, here's the deal. It was built, decades and decades ago. It was originally a hunting lodge. Doesn't have any heat, but does have indoor plumbing. Is only 384 square feet. It was on a cul-de-sac, but again, they were hunting. There were no other houses around.
Right.
So that's when it was built, and it's just sat there. People have done basic upgrades, and the interior looks nice, but it sits sandwiched between two other properties that are plus $5 million. So everybody's trying to buy it because it's the lowest price property you'll find anywhere there, and then you'll tear down the home and then you build a new home.
Nice one, yeah.
And it's actually got a decent sized lot on it. And so we don't know how much it sold over the weekend. They closed. We do know it's more than $2 million, but it's about 30 days to get through closing. We'll keep an eye on it and we'll let you know how much 384 square feet sold for in San Jose. That's just stupid. And you wonder why.
Starter home for $2 million.
Yeah, and you have to make more than
$300,000
in order to do it.
Yeah, you're not. Nobody is starting out in life.
No.
Look, this is a much larger conversation, but so my kids, we're in between all this.
Yeah, and your kids are going to be homeless.
My kids are not old enough to start looking for a home.
Yeah.
Is this you've got older kids. Is this a really big issue for them?
It is a ridiculously big issue. And if you want to talk about some of the, I would say, malaise and disenchantment with America and with our economic system, that's a huge one. My kids that are coming through college and the end of high school right now are looking at this going, this system is set up for me to fail. I cannot afford a house. The idea of them being able to afford a car seems absolutely ridiculous. Our oldest son is living with us right now. He does have a brain injury, but he could be out functionally on his own. However, we are keeping it at home right now because this allows him to try and get some sort of a nest egg.
Yeah,
something. It's the only way he can possibly do it. And I can't figure out how any person 30 or under are going to afford a house if you don't live with mom and dad for years. And I'm talking 6-7 years minimum, because you're going to have to get enough of a nest egg in order to make that mortgage payment affordable.
Right.
The mortgage payment based on houses right now, not affordable. It is ridiculous. My son right now, if he went out and tried to have an apartment on his 40 hours a week, that's great. But he is visiting a food kitchen every single week. He can't feed himself. Wow. He can't, based on what rent is. There's no way. So that's the choice that he has to make, is you're saying, hey, go out there. And this is just rental. This is not even buying a house. He couldn't feed himself. So that's a real, and this is a 40-hour-a-week job with benefits, and it's above minimum wage, and he can't feed himself if he was paying rent in the city. So that's where he is.
Happy tax day, everybody.
I know,
All right,
isn't
we've
this
got
great?
don't we have one more story?
Yeah, we have one more. Hey, Blake Olson, our final choice this morning after all that good news. Good reminder for everyone, or making the obvious choice. Choose wisely, sir.
Let's go with the good reminder.
Yes, this is a good reminder for everyone. This is just a reminder that we'll get to the issue here in a second, because we have a Sacramento woman who unfortunately bought a online herbal ointment for her hemorrhoids and has since passed away.
Oh no.
She has died because the herbal remedy that she ordered online from Vietnam is over 4% lead. It absorbs through your skin. She died of lead poisoning.
No
in 2024, she died of lead poisoning because of things she was putting on her butt. So I'm just saying that those online herbal treatments and creams don't have to go through the FTC and don't go through the FDA, and they're not always approved. Oddly enough, this person got it on Facebook is where they ordered it from when it arrived, and then she continued to place it on her rear end. So again, kids, the lesson this morning, be careful what you put on your butt. Yeah, that's it. That is the end of You Choose the News. Blake Olson and Jeff Hunter, always our winners, and I am just a giant loser, reminding you that this is sponsored by, no, it's not. It's not sponsored by Roll 'Em Out Shelves. Who wrote this? Not me. You have to book your free estimate today and organize your kitchen or bath with the wonderful Mother and Son team. They will solve all of your clutter needs, unlike my mind. I see all of their work at rollemoutshelves.com, but whatever you do, do not mention You Choose the News. It will not go well for you. However, if you say you're a Salem listener here at 710 KNUS, they will treat you very nicely. You mention Roll 'Em Out, you mention You Choose the News, and bad things will happen. I've heard they've kicked people, not hard, just gently, just kind of stop it, kind of a thing. So yeah, rollemoutshelves.com. Okay, back to you, sir.
All right. We are watching live on the news right now. Donald Trump en route to the hush money trial. Helicopters following a whole train of black Suburbans, Escalades, those types of things as he heads to this hush money trial.
Why do we care? I mean, seriously, why are we? I mean, is this? I blame OJ.
Right.
Personally,
that continues on.
Exactly
by the way, shout out to my new follower on Twitter, Cato Kalin.
Yeah, what's up, Cato?
Speaking of
I know that's a little flex there. That's
the
nice.
OJ trials.
Yeah, but seriously, since OJ, now we just do this.
This will be interesting to watch. I mean, this goes back to our conversation we've had, Bill. You're going to need a court TV analysis for this presidential election, which is something that has never really happened before in a presidential election.
Not a good thing.
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree. Look, in 7 o'clock hour, David Williams, the president of Taxpayers Protection Alliance, is going to join us, and we'll dive into all of it. It is tax day. Did you pay your fair share, Bill?
Sure. We'll go with yes. Because I have a feeling that what I think is my fair share is probably not what the government agrees to. So let's just say, yeah, we did as well as we possibly could. That's about it. Yeah.
8 o'clock hour, Rabbi Hillel Goldberg's going to join us. You're not going to want to miss that conversation. We'll be talking about Israel. That was fascinating. We were watching that. Have you seen some of those videos of them shooting down?
Oh, yeah. That was impressive.
The drones and the missiles and all that stuff.
And then what does it say where I guess Iran, some of the reporting is somewhere around 40 to 50% of their missiles they were trying to fire didn't shoot. Like, nice job, guys. It shows your quality control is right up there. That's that. Yeah, quality is job one in Iran, obviously. Yeah.
We've got all of this and more on the Jeff and Bill Show. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
That's right. This Friday, Brandon Tatum is joining us in Denver, Colorado, live from the Black Eyed Pea down
Isn't
in
he
Castle
talking to
Rock.
us tomorrow or something?
Yeah, that's right. He's going to be on the show tomorrow to preview it, but it's always fun. Brandon Tatum did
so
great when we brought him to the Western Conservative Summit, and he's a lot of fun in person.
Yeah,
so
seems like it.
you get to have some delicious food, 6 to 10 a.m. this Friday. Black Eyed Pea, Castle Rock.
Yeah, come on out. Yeah, come on out, see us. You get to hang out with us live and in person. We will not be doing the video that day, so the only way to really see us, if it's your thing, you got to come out and hang with us live. Also, do we mention breakfast? And I'm surprising Jeff with this one. I think there's a segment we've been talking about, a thing with guests we've been talking about doing for a while, and we haven't. That thing, my friend, I think we unveil it with Brandon Tatum on Friday.
That'll be fun.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, something special, something different we've never done with a guest before, but you got to be there to see it and listen. So, yeah.
All right, coming up next, David Williams. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
It's 7 a.m. on this Monday morning, April 15th. Happy Tax Day. Did you pay your fair share?
Yeah.
You've tuned into the
How big's
Jeff
your
and Bill
refund?
Show.
Yeah, I'm sure we're all getting big fat checks, huh? Yeah. That's
Thank
how this
God
goes.
for Tabor.
Oh, yeah. That really helps. I forget here.
You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. It's going to be another beautiful day in the greatest city in America, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. On the news for us is Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff. Hey, by the way, I know you said your daughter is 15, right?
Yes.
I don't know why I said she was going to vote for Trump. She's going to support Trump. I get it.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
She
want
will.
To,
maybe.
You've heard about you've heard about all those mail-in ballots.
Yes,
I'm sure
right. Right.
Yeah,
I knew I'd hear it.
fine.
You think he's going to have a third term? She was 15. I'm thinking, no, I wasn't saying he's going to have a third
Just
term.
different
He's
Trump.
gotta
It'll be
take-
Trump
yeah.
Jr., right? It'll be
Exactly.
There you
Exactly. Good conservative. Love it. All right. 43 and sunny in Denver, expecting sunny skies and highs in the upper 70s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, almost half of taxpayers still don't have their Tabor refund. This year, everyone gets $800 back if they've lived in the state over a year. The taxpayers' Bill of Rights check will only be sent after returns are filed. Today is the deadline. Geoge Teal, Dougals County Commissioner, on with the fellas this morning. There's a 10 o'clock press conference this morning in Castle Rock to explain why Dougco will initiate a lawsuit against the state, suing under two provisions to overturn two laws that prevent local law enforcement from doing their job.
We're in the middle of an illegal immigration crisis, Jeff, that terrorists are infiltrating our southern border. People on the terrorist watch list. You know who's catching them? It's not the federal authorities. It's local law enforcement. And here in Colorado, this is a huge blind spot. It goes to national security. It goes to just keeping our streets safe.
10 o'clock at the Miller Building. There's another bill encouraging more housing near public transit and workplaces. The bill is advancing. It creates a grant program and technical assistance to support the campaign, but would also penalize municipalities that don't comply. The State House passed the measure Sunday, and now some lawmakers hoping a compromise can be reached as it makes its way through the Senate. A state assault weapons ban bill has passed the House and is now on its way to the Colorado Senate. It passed on a 35-27 vote. It would ban the manufacture, purchase, sale, or transfer of what they call assault weapons. A debate lasted 3 hours. No shocker, Democrat Tim Hernandez, one of the sponsors.
This is the first time in Colorado history that we have considered a prohibition on the sale of assault weapons in the House chamber.
One team.
He literally did the communist fist when he passed it. I'm not
Did
kidding.
he?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. Amazing. Let's make t-shirts.
I'm guessing.
If there aren't any already.
This might just be supposition on my part and may not be fair, but
that's okay.
There may, I know I'm good at that. There may be some listeners that might have a fist for Mr. Hernandez as well. Might not be the same one.
Blake,
I'm just saying in general.
Maybe
may
a
have
few,
that.
huh?
Yeah, maybe a few. I'm just saying. In general, we might. It's just. I'm just guessing. I'm not saying in certain, but I'm guessing.
Blake, let's do that, dude. Let's do Timmy Hernandez, Elizabeth Epps fist T-shirts.
Absolutely.
All about, and then our listeners can buy. That's
I didn't see so there was video, of course.
Oh yeah,
and a photo.
Sure.
I gotta check that one out.
Oh,
I'll try to draw a cartoon of it. We'll print up some T-shirts.
I love that idea.
All right, one teen has been arrested in Denver in the investigation of manslaughter related to the shooting of a teenage boy on Friday in downtown Denver. The boy died at the hospital. Police say the suspect and the victim knew each other. One woman has been arrested after a crash that seriously injured 3 people in downtown Denver over the weekend. She crashed her vehicle into a Starbucks near 17th and Broadway. I have no idea how this didn't hurt more people as well. 3 people. The 3 people injured were passengers in the vehicle.
She's mad about pumpkin spice. It's no longer there. She wants it year round. Yeah,
right.
She's really mad
It's
about
all about the pumpkin
exactly.
spice.
It is.
If they only sold just straight
if
black
only.
coffee, we wouldn't have these problems.
Yes.
Right. A small plane had to make an emergency landing on 287 east of Niawat on Sunday. It was headed to Broomfield from Cheyenne and experienced mechanical failure and had to land. And once again, on a Sunday, that is a scenic, beautiful drive there. That's amazing that no cars were involved in that one. So thankfully, everyone is okay in that one. The mainstream media, they're going nuts again over former President Trump, his latest political hit job. Jury selection begins today in the New York hush money case. We all know that he'll lose that one because it's in New York, and then they'll appeal, and then the campaign will continue. That's what we're expecting. Iran attacks Israel, of course. They intercepted 99% of the drones and the missiles. And still questions on Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson's supposed to be a conservative. That's what he says. But you need to keep a close eye on him. That's what Rand Paul says.
You know, people have to be strong in their convictions. He was seen as a conservative before he came to the speakership, but now he puts a tweet out the other day saying, oh, they whispered to him about 702, how important it is. And now he's completely changed and lost all his principles on the idea that you shouldn't spy on Americans without a warrant. On the spending issue, they say, oh, government will shut down. But if the Democrats want this level of spending, we want this level, a compromise would be splitting the difference. Use the power of the purse, Speaker Johnson. Do something to make us think you are different than the Democrats.
Here we go again.
That was a wild switch that happened because he was in support of where conservatives were in requiring a warrant, and then he gets like some briefing. He literally talks about it. He comes out of that briefing, it's like, no, we need it. What happened in that room?
I mean, what do they know about him? It's frightening. I mean, and he's one of those guys, man. You look at him and, you know, it'd be great to support him, but man, when they talk about politicians and bureaucrats, man, you can hear it coming out. He's very, very smooth, and that's scary sometimes. 37 in Castle Rock, 38 in Boulder, 43 in Denver. Scotty Scheffler wins the Masters, his second green jacket in 3 years. He's finished at 11 under. The Nuggets start the playoffs this weekend. Avs close out the regular season Thursday against the Oilers and Lodo. Rockies and the Phillies today. They're going for win number 5. And the Pioneers, they always, you know what, Billy can talk about this, but Pios, I've never understood that. Is Pioneers too long to say?
I think the problem is it doesn't lend itself to many chants.
Maybe that's what it is.
Pioneer. I mean, it's kind of the rhythm isn't there. It's let's go Pioneer. They just can't. Yeah, Pioneer. It's 3 syllables.
The Pios thing just never. I never got into that.
No, because normally when my friends and I were talking about Pios, it was a Pio was something, and we didn't. That's what I'm looking at. Every time they say that, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of confusing.
Very confusing.
Well, they win their 10th national championship over the weekend against BC. So
amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, and there's Blake. Hey, you're cutting out a little bit, Blake. And I was talking to Mr. Crowley, and he said that before the game, BC was coming in very, very cocky. He said one of their superstars in the pregame interview said there's going to be a lot of tears on that bench tonight after the game.
Oh boy.
Well, Crowley had the line. I'm going to steal it from him, but he had the line. He goes, "Yeah, tears of joy."
I love it.
Nicely done. He's the best.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to them and Mark Crowley. All right, back to you guys. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for a strong ridge of high pressure to develop, bringing beautiful spring weather to Denver and the Front Range through the weekend. Enjoy. Temperatures today, Saturday and Sunday will be in the 70s, overnight lows 40s, through Sunday dry. Monday will continue to be mild, low 70s, afternoon showers and even some thunder possible late Monday afternoon and evening. Then Monday night and Tuesday trending cooler with developing showers. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
It's April 15th, which means it's tax day. And to tell us about all the wonderful things that the government is doing with your money is David Williams, the president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance. In his 30 years in Washington, D.C., David has become an expert in finding and exposing government waste and has helped fine-tune criteria in identifying and ultimately eliminating earmarks. David, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Morning.
Good morning. And today is the real April Fool's Day, right?
Oh, yeah, it is. We're all fools for paying this.
Exactly. And listen, a third of the people have not filed their taxes yet. So that's why today is so important and it's going to be so busy.
Well, and they're a lot like I was in college, right? You work for the deadline. Yep. David, give us an insight into all the wonderful things the government's doing with our money.
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? So first of all, let's start with the IRS receiving $80 billion a couple of years ago and what they're doing with that money. So we heard that $80 billion we heard two things. One was, we're not going to hire all these agents. That's fake news. That's not happening. But then they said, oh yes, we are hiring all these agents to go after the billionaires. Well, there are about 700 billionaires in this country, and they hired 87,000 agents to go after the billionaires. So they're, the first problem we have with their logic, right? And then when we look at what the IRS does is, if you look at a poverty map and you look at an audit map, it's the same thing. The IRS goes after lower income folks. And this is, studies have been done throughout the years, and year after year, this is what happens. Because if you are lower income and the IRS gives you a call, you are going to freak out. Listen, I think anyone freaks out, but especially if you don't have the means to fight the IRS, you're going to say, oh my God, what do I do? I'll pay whatever fine it is. If you're Bill Gates, first of all, you're not getting the call. Someone else in your organization is, right. And you're hiring 100 accountants, lawyers to fight that tax bill. And the IRS knows that. They know that lower income folks, they're the low hanging fruit of audits. And since 2 years ago, when they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which still is, it doesn't make sense, inflation reduction, but they are now going after middle class income earners. So they're not changing. They aren't going after, as Bernie Sanders would say, the billionaires. They're going after middle income and lower income folks. And this is what your money is doing. This is what the $80 billion is doing, is shaking down people.
Now, I think the response was to hiring all these agents is that there's a lot of people that aren't paying their taxes. So we need to go hold them accountable. What's your response to that?
Well, yes, hold people accountable, but 87,000 agents that are armed. They're walking around this country with weapons, with, sidearms. This is not what the Internal Revenue Service should be doing. And again, it's going after lower income folks. And you have hardware and software systems of the IRS that are 20 to 60 years old. Let me repeat that. Some of the software and hardware is 20 to 60 years old, and they spent a very small percentage of that $80 billion to actually upgrade the IRS, or to get someone to actually answer the phone if you have a question with the IRS. So therein lies the problem, is that their priorities are completely out of whack right now.
Talking with David Williams, the president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance. What you often hear from the left is that the millionaires and billionaires do not pay their fair share. What's your response to that, David?
Well, the numbers just don't, it's not true, because we see that the millionaires and billionaires pay about 25% of all income taxes in this country. And there are not, this country is not made up 25% of millionaires and billionaires. So they're paying more than their fair share. And listen, I have no soft spot in my heart for millionaires and billionaires. Listen, good for them for making money. Good for them. But, they have to pay their fair share, and they are. So the left is lying when they say they're not paying their fair share, because that's where the bulk of the money comes in, is from those folks.
Well, there is some malleability there, though, because I think it's General Motors has annual incomes of somewhere around, it's like 4 or 5 billion recently. It's either 2023 or 2022, and still received almost $500 million in refund from the American taxpayers. And I think when we talk, when the average taxpayer complains about the millionaires and billionaires not paying their fair share, I believe that's what they see. they see these companies that make billions that then take $500 million of our taxpayer money, and then they get it back. I mean, I understand how and why the rules are written that way, but when the average taxpayer feels the millionaires and billionaires aren't paying their fair share, it's because of rules like that.
That's right, and change the tax code to make sure that there aren't those loopholes in the tax code where that happens. But you also have these massive companies that are paying property tax, they're paying FICA, they're paying payroll. I mean, they're paying a lot of other taxes, but they are getting huge tax breaks, and that has to end. Listen, corporate welfare at any level has to end because it is costing this country a lot of money, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily change some of that into incentives towards capital investment or incentives towards wage or hiring or even improving, individual computer systems, et cetera, and give them breaks there rather than give them breaks for what they have right now. Because that's where the animosity from the average taxpayer exists, because we can't afford the lawyers that will help us take advantage of the tax loopholes or even establish ourselves as a separate business in the Cayman Islands and just exempt ourselves from taxes completely. And I think that's the thing is the problem that we have as taxpayers. The average is that we don't feel like we want to go after the high paying taxpayers, just like you outlined with the IRS. And you're absolutely right. The path of least resistance is to go after the middle and lower income taxpayers because they can't afford to fight back. The amount of time and effort it takes to go after you and I, David Williams, versus what it takes to go after Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or Hunter Biden is infinitely different. And so it's much easier for them to pinch us than it is to pinch them.
Yeah, let's look what happened in 2017 when the Trump tax cuts were passed. That was amazing for this country because we saw small businesses get a tax break. We saw big business get a tax break, and also the middle class received a tax break. And even Janet Yellen has admitted that the middle class got a tax cut during the Trump the tax cuts. And that really put this economy just on a rocket, man, because we saw businesses giving out $1,000 bonuses. And I remember when Nancy Pelosi was saying $1,000. Oh, $1,000 is nothing for these families. Why is everyone bragging about giving $1,000 bonuses? Yet she's the same person that wanted to send out $600 stimulus checks and said $600 stimulus checks were going to change everyone's life. So I don't know which way it is. I mean, you can't have it both ways, right? Obviously, there was no way she was going to say that the Trump tax cuts did anything positive. But I spoke to small businesses, and they said that after the Trump tax cuts, they were able to hire more people. They were to expand their business, invest, capital back into their business, hire more people. And that's what, this country needed at the time. I mean, still needs. And so, the tax cuts to me were just an amazing part of our history and we're way overdue.
Talking to David Williams, the president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance on this tax day, April 15th. David, this is one area where I may agree with our very liberal governor, Jared Polis, that we shouldn't be penalizing the producers, right? So look, I hear the critique about Jeff Bezos has a mega yacht and we need to tax him more. He needs to pay his fair share. All right. Jeff Bezos figured out a way to get toilet paper to my front door and eggs to my front door without marking up a huge amount. He put together a system that made my life wildly easier. I don't spend nearly as much time in the supermarket as I used to. Thank God for guys like that. Why do I care if the guy has a super yacht or not? He's a producer. He created something. Why don't we incentivize even more of those guys to be able to do that type of thing and reward them? I don't care if he has a super yacht. I don't care if they all have super yachts. They made my life easier, and that's a better thing.
That's right. And you have the Federal Trade Commission who is going after folks like Jeff Bezos and Amazon because they are successful. And this government does not like successful people, businesses. They are suing almost every business right now. If you want to have a merger or an acquisition, the FTC stands in the middle of this. And one of the funniest things last year is that the FTC was complaining that it took 6 clicks for you to unsubscribe from Amazon Prime, right? They said 6 clicks. That's way too many. You can't have that many clicks to unsubscribe. Well, the FTC, in order to submit a comment to the agency, it took 8 clicks. So it actually took more work to submit a comment to the Federal Trade Commission than it did to unsubscribe from Amazon. That's how ridiculous this government has become.
Well, and I'd love to see our government put their arms around the guys instead of suing them into the ground. Say, look, you've created an entity that provides jobs for people, that makes people's lives easier. Why don't you help us? Why don't you advise on some of our boards here at the government to make it more efficient? Why do we got to treat these guys like enemies when they're actually doing really good things for our society? And I understand. Look, if you're running a monopoly and really harming people, that's one thing. And I understand there's a role for government for that. But I wish this, and to Jared Polis's credit on this, he wants to get rid of the income tax here in Colorado because we shouldn't be penalizing success.
Yeah, and that's why Jared Polis is such an interesting guy, because we've been following him for years, and he is saying and doing a lot of good things. So we actually gave him the profile and courage a few years ago because of what he's done in Colorado. So we need to look at the producers. The government doesn't produce anything.
Right.
What they do is they take your money, they take 20 to 25% off the top, and then they may build a road or two, but really they don't produce anything. Government doesn't produce jobs. People do. Entrepreneurs, those are the ones that are producing jobs. And that's my frustration, is that government takes credit for everything. I mean, we've seen this with Joe Biden. Well, inflation has been reduced from 4% to 3.5% or whatever the numbers. Yeah, but over the last 3 years, it's 20%. Inflation has increased 20%. They never take blame. They only take credit.
Talking to David Williams, he's the president of Taxpayer Protection Alliance. You've done a lot on earmarks. Give us an update on where we are in America on earmarks.
Well, this is embarrassing because Congress brought back earmarks in the latest spending bills. We're talking about thousands upon thousands of earmarks. And these are projects that the agency hasn't requested. One member of Congress has requested this particular earmark, and there's thousands of them worth $20 to $30 billion. And what's happening is that the problem is that if you're a member of Congress and you're telling the Department of Defense or the Department of Transportation how to spend their money, then you've become a de facto Secretary of Transportation or Secretary of Defense. So now we have 535 Secretaries of Defense saying this is where we're going to spend this money, or Secretaries of Transportation. That's chaos. That's absolute chaos in the system. Members of Congress have gone to jail. Lobbyists have gone to jail because of earmarks. And it's a huge distraction to what really needs to happen in this country. We have Social Security and Medicare that are going bankrupt and are costing trillions of dollars. Congress needs to put away the earmarks and get to work figuring out how do we save Social Security and Medicare, because they are going bankrupt in the next 10 years.
Now, from what I understand, David Williams, president of Taxpayer Protection Alliance, originally earmarks were, if I could get something for my district, it's pretty good. It helps me with the voters. It's something that directly benefits them. And so it was a deliverable directly for the people of the district. Why is that necessarily a bad thing?
There has to be a process for this to happen, and that's a competitive grants process. There's nothing wrong with spending money. It's just it has to go through a competitive grants process. There is no competition. And let's say Denver gets $500 million in earmarks, which is a lot. They probably don't get $500 million, but let's just use that. Well, there's $30 billion going everywhere else. So you're paying for a lot more than you're getting through a system that is not looking at the merits of these earmarks. It's just saying, okay, who in Congress has the most power? And remember, you may remember Ted Stevens and Robert Byrd, the big Republican and Democrat appropriators. I mean, they got a bulk of the money that was sent back to West Virginia. So West Virginia has received billions upon billions of dollars in earmarks. They still have one of the lowest per capita incomes. They have a horrible education system. Earmarks don't improve a state. They don't help anybody except for the member of Congress who is appropriating the money.
David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance. What is the next administration going to look like? Can you give us the difference between a Trump administration and a Biden administration when it comes to taxes?
Yes, I think a Trump administration will reinforce the tax cuts. The tax cuts actually expire at the end of 2025. I doubt that Joe Biden will want to extend the tax cuts. I am pretty sure that President Trump would, because that was his signature piece of legislation. And again, this is all about the economy. It's all about people having more money in their pocket. And it's really the government taking less out of your pocket. The government gives you nothing. The government just says you get to keep more of your money. And I think a Trump versus Biden administration, hands down, Trump is going to do 1,000% better on taxes than Biden could ever do.
Talking to David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Alliance, on this tax day, April 15th. You can learn more about the Taxpayer Protection Alliance by going to protectingtaxpayers.org. That's protectingtaxpayers.org. David Williams, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy tax day.
Oh, boy. Bill, a lot of us don't realize how much you're paying in taxes. You see it when you submit the final report, right? But that's kind of complicated. But it's if you had to actually sit down and write a check every month, as opposed to just having it automatically withdrawn out of your paycheck, I think we'd have a different understanding of taxes.
Well, yeah, we could. It's just, I don't know. I mean, there's some things in those conversations there. I mean, the idea that you were saying, hey, I don't care if anybody else gets the super yachts, and that's really.
I don't care.
Okay,
let them have it.
Okay, over the previous several years, Tesla paid their executives more than $2.5 billion and paid no federal income tax. That's great,
right? But that's different.
That's wonderful. No. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about allowing them to have the super yachts, and that's where I disagree. Is the idea that the code
I'm
is
not
built,
saying they shouldn't pay any taxes.
No, but that's how they're getting the super yachts. That's how the issue? Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
You don't think that paying the executives $2.5 billion over several years and paying no federal income tax that doesn't allow them to afford the super yachts?
They shouldn't have to pay no federal income tax.
Okay.
I've never said that.
But you said we should encourage them, and you're fine with what they're doing right now.
We shouldn't be penalizing them. So I'm very happy to do a flat tax. I'm very happy to do a flat tax.
But then, so you're just okay with penalizing the lower income?
No.
Yeah, because that's what it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
That's the most fair. A flat tax is the most fair.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
No, it isn't. No. Study after study after study shows that flat tax puts more downward pressure on wages and purchase power on middle class and lower income, because they have to pay a larger share of what they bring in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 14% when you're making $1 billion isn't a big deal. But when you're making $42,000, 14% is a big deal. And that's different. That changes your ability to afford things. That's why the idea of flat tax, it is not fair. It's a shell game. And that's okay. We can play with it. We can talk about it, but it doesn't work.
So the alternative, though, Bill, is to, right. So the more you make, the more successful you are, the more you're going to pay. So we're going to penalize the producers more.
Well, it depends on what you call as based on the producers. What did Jeff Bezos produce this year? I mean, granted, he's the CEO, but last time I checked, there are a whole hell of a lot of people wearing Amazon uniforms, clicking Amazon computers, driving Amazon trucks, and putting Amazon packages on your porch. I have a feeling they had something to do with it as well.
They did.
But the issue being that we continue to reward the people at the top, meaning looking at their wage growth, yet the people that helped Amazon functionally work didn't get anything on that. And that's the issue. That's the issue. We have tilted it towards the top, going, because he is the captain of the ship, we are going to favor him over everybody else.
Yes, and we should.
No, we shouldn't.
Yes, we should.
No, because the ship doesn't make it to port unless you have people working on the ship.
As much as I appreciate those guys that are delivering packages, it's absolutely critical. They did not build Amazon. They were part of it, but they did not put together the idea behind it, take the risk behind it, put the initial investments into it, build what is Amazon.
Yeah, I know, which again was facilitated by the fact that he came from a rich family. Amazon
you keep switching topics.
No, I'm not. No, you're talking about him being able to build it. And where I'm going with this is that he came from a very rich family, and they were able to subsidize his early failures.
So what?
Now, hang on, I'm getting to the point. Now he has, and we talked about the court cases. The court cases are the idea that it is a functional monopoly, and he is preventing small businesses access in order to grow their business. So the people that you want to see grow, the small business owners, in some ways are being prevented because of what Amazon is doing because he's been so successful.
Bill,
he's preventing other people from growing.
Switched topics, and
No.
when I bring up a point, you jump to the next topic.
Where do you want to sit on this one? Where do you want to go? Do you want to talk about the taxes and how he shouldn't be, how maybe?
That our society should not be penalizing the producers. Jared Polis agrees with me on that.
Who's the producer?
When you produce something like Amazon, would you build something like that?
You said the producers.
Right.
So the person driving the truck isn't producing anything from Amazon.
No, they are, but we shouldn't be penalizing them either. But when you do a graduated tax, you penalize the big producers a lot more.
No, you penalize.
That's the definition of a graduated tax.
You not penalize. You take more from the people that are on the top. The people that have gotten the largest income pay the largest share. Seems okay. If you have the largest income share, you pay the largest share of tax. Yeah, good. Yes,
you would do that in a flat tax too.
Not functionally, because it takes more. It is punitive to people in the middle class and the lower incomes. It's punitive to them. All the math shows it. So if you want to punish middle class families, advocate for a flat tax.
Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let us know where you stand on this. I think we pay too much taxes. I think there's way too much waste, and I think we penalize those that are producers. I'd love to hear from you all. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. More than 250 terrorist attack survivors have announced a major lawsuit against Britain's Domestic Intelligence Agency. The group formed part of the survivors from a bombing which killed 22 people at a 2017 Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, England. Represented by 3 law firms, the group's claim centres around an official inquiry which found last year that the UK's MI5 didn't act swiftly enough and missed warning signs to prevent suicide bomber Salman Abedi from setting off the explosion at the Manchester Arena. Of the 1.4 million adults who live in Manhattan, a dozen will soon become the first Americans to ever sit in on a judgment of a former president charged with a crime. In New York, Haley Bianco reports.
Jury selection starts today in former President Donald Trump's hush money case, the first trial among 4 criminal prosecutions for the presumptive Republican presidential nominee. Today's goal is to begin finding people who can be impartial and detecting any bias among prospective jurors without invading the privacy of the ballot box. The hush money case carries the possibility of up to 4 years in prison if he's convicted.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
All right, we're talking taxes on this tax day. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. We just hosted David Williams, president of the Taxpayer Protection Alliance. It was a good conversation. Appreciate it. Let's go to the phone. Spencer in Castle Rock. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Spencer.
Hey, good morning, guys. This is one of those instances that I actually agree with Bill.
Something's wrong.
Jeff, so here's the thing. Our taxes pay for infrastructure, right?
Mm-hmm.
We listed a bunch of positives from Amazon. All those vehicles on the road from Amazon making deliveries every day, the damage they do to the road, we pay for that in our taxes. Amazon's not. They're not paying taxes. And the producer thing, are you saying that I'm not a producer like Amazon is? The work I do doesn't benefit society? I mean,
no, there's a natural hierarchy. If you're a brain surgeon, if you're smart enough to go through all of college, all of medical school and become a brain surgeon, I hope you get paid $450,000 a year.
And I hope you pay your share of taxes, right? Like we all do.
Nobody's saying they shouldn't. I'm not a libertarian in taxes. I'm not a libertarian. I think that there's a role for taxes, but I don't think we should unfairly punish and believe that the rich don't, quote, pay their fair share and should pay more because of the fact that they make more money. Just because you make more money doesn't mean you should pay more, in my opinion.
In some instances, yes, but these guys are using loopholes to not pay.
But that's a different, Spencer, share. That's a different issue. I'm happy to address that they shouldn't be. There shouldn't be corporatism. There shouldn't be loopholes. All that stuff.
You don't want to address that
because I'm happy to.
No, you're saying that we're taking too much taxes from the producers anyway. You have no incentive to close the loopholes because if we do close the loopholes, they have to pay more, and you don't want them to pay more.
No, what I'm talking about is the tax rate. If like in California, you're having 50% of your taxes, you reach a certain tax bracket, an income bracket, and you're having 50% of your taxes taken or your income by the state.
Do you want
the state?
Do you want Jeff Bezos to pay more taxes? Do you want to pay more? Because if you do, you have to close loopholes.
No,
do you want him to pay more?
You're pulling some stuff together.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm following up on Spencer. Spencer here was saying that he was saying they're not paying these taxes because they have loopholes. And you said close the loopholes.
Sure.
The functional, what happens of that is they pay more taxes. So do you want Jeff Bezos to pay more taxes? And in order to do that, you have to close the loopholes. So do you want him to pay more taxes? Yes or no?
I want Jeff. Well, I don't know how much he pays.
That's a no, Spencer. You can continue. That's
Bill,
a no.
Hold on, Bill. You're bringing. I don't know what Jeff Bezos pays.
No.
Do you know what Jeff Bezos pays?
Not enough, but the issue is
how much does Jeff Bezos pay, Bill?
The issue would be
you
not
don't
enough.
know.
No,
does he pay enough? You're trying to pin me down on a fact you don't even know.
I'm not pinning you down on a fact.
Let me jump in here.
Spencer,
yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
Ahead. So I read a report about Elon Musk. A lot of what these guys do to avoid the taxes that they should be paying is they don't accept a salary, and they take loans out on the money that they would be receiving from their shares, and they live on the loans. And because they're loans, the taxes are completely different. So no, they're not paying what they should be paying fairly in taxes. And that is a major loophole. Elon Musk spoke about this, and this is something that these Zuckerbergs and these Bezos and Musks do in order to avoid paying the tax that we call fair. So I'm curious how you feel about that, Jeff.
I don't know enough about it to be able to comment on it, Spencer. And so look, I don't look.
Then how do you have an opinion on this subject?
I don't. You guys are. All right, you guys are arguing facts you don't even know. This is why I'm frustrated. How much? Listen, Bill. How much taxes did Jeff Bezos pay last year?
That's irrelevant to my question.
No. You're trying to get me pinned on facts you don't even know.
No, hang on,
Spencer.
Hang on, no, Jeff, stop for a sec. With respect, I asked you if you want Jeff Bezos to pay more taxes, and
I don't know how much he paid.
Hang on. And we talked because Spencer brought up the loopholes, and you said we should close the loopholes.
Yes.
If
there's corporatism out there,
if we close the loopholes, Jeff Bezos pays more tax. Do you want him to pay more tax? That's all I'm saying.
I don't know how much taxes he
so
pays.
Spencer, his answer is no. Continue.
Bill, you can't put me in a position like that.
I asked you if you want to close the loopholes and to have him pay more taxes.
I'm fine to pay more taxes.
Like, I don't know. Okay, then don't close the loopholes.
This is a big part of it, guys. This is a big part of it. These loopholes, you can say, listen, we can't punish these guys. First off, taxes is not a punishment.
Yes, it is. It's 100% a punishment.
No, taxes
on a graduated income tax, it's a punishment on success.
I don't think that because you make billions, you should be taxed more than everybody else. I think you should be taxed fairly
tax.
on your.
That's a flat tax, Spencer.
Well, listen, if you find a way to avoid paying the taxes that you should be paying under the current system, all right, that's a problem. And that's what these billionaires are doing. And I encourage you to look up the information on what Elon Musk and others are doing. Even though I respect Elon Musk and I like him, they take loans out on the salaries that they would be making, and they don't accept a salary. And because of that, they get all kinds of benefits for paying interest on the loans that they're living off of. So they're taking
But
advantage
what's wrong
of the
with
system.
that?
I
It's
just
not
want them to
illegal.
play in the same rule. It's not illegal. It's a loophole.
Yeah.
I just want them to play under the same rules that we all play. So if these guys weren't allowed to do that stuff, they would be paying more, but they wouldn't be paying an exorbitant amount more that you disagree with. And I agree. I don't think that they should be punished, but I do think that they should pay what they owe. And they should stop using
the other one they
loopholes.
do. The other one they do is they take stock instead of taking the payment, because stock gains are taxed at a different rate when an income is realized than regular income. And the problem with that is exactly what you see with Bed Bath & Beyond. The guy in charge of Bed Bath & Beyond drove that company into the ground because he was being paid through stock options. He could have used he took $11 billion and put it back into the company, buying back stock. And the company failed because it had $5 billion in debt. He could have paid off all of the debt, which would have been what a responsible business owner does, and still had $6 billion in stock buybacks. But he didn't. He funneled it all into stock buybacks because that gooses and pushes up his income. So that's what he did, and he crashed the company. Congratulations. That's why I pay the CEO so much, because they know so much.
Spencer, Castle Rock, appreciate the call.
I love you guys.
Line will be
Have a good
open.
day, man.
303-696-1971. His line will be open. 303-696-1971. Let's go to Johnny in Greeley. Johnny, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, I love the last conversation. I just wanted to add to it that, these producers and entrepreneurs with these, near monopolies, they have the option to reinvest towards the end of the year and avoid all these taxes.
Right.
It's just an option right there, which creates jobs for all of us. I mean, but to agree with the flat rate, flat tax, I don't agree with that. I think having that option to reinvest is great, and that's how they can avoid those large taxes.
See, I like that, Johnny, to get an issue with your phone. Otherwise, I'd keep you on longer. And I like the idea. I would say is closing some of those loopholes, and I would give tax breaks again for the reinvestment, for things like expanding your workforce, for giving the people the people that are working there raises. Those things could be used as incentives to have them reinvest. But we don't do that right now. So, oh well, what are you going to do?
What do you think? Do the rich pay their fair share? Or are we penalizing those that produce and are successful in this country? Do we pay too much taxes to this government? And are they wisely spending it? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. There's a lot to consider when it comes to higher education. The college experience can either build a student's faith up with knowledge and understanding, or tear it down. At Colorado Christian University, they aim to strengthen their students' Christian faith because they believe that everything depends on it. CCU's academic and student development programs cultivate a deep and enduring faith that affirms the authority of Scripture and embraces Christ as the authentic center of life. What does this look like week to week at CCU? All students are placed in a discipleship group freshman year. Their campus ministries department creates space for spiritual formation through weekly chapels, service opportunities, and international missions. Every student graduates with an emphasis in biblical studies taught by expert faculty in their field, Old and New Testament, theology, and church history. At CCU, they consider faith the most important thing a student can take with them into their future career. To learn more and apply, go to ccu.edu/apply. That's ccu.edu/apply. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, let's go to Francis and Golden. Francis, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, you guys. Hey, I wanted to point out, I mean, I don't, taxes to me are not punitive in any way, shape, or form. They're just not. It's just the cost of basically functioning in society. And I don't think that it punishes successful people at all. How many successful people would feel like they're really being put upon by paying taxes? It's not, everybody should be punished like that. It really does punish the lower income earners. It really does. It's not the Jeff Bezoses of the world who can dodge taxes every which way. It's the little people who get clobbered. I mean, that's what happens.
Francis, if you live in California and you end up with nearly 50% of your income taken by the state, you don't think that's punitive?
I think that it's punitive to the extent that it's paying for things that the legislature has passed that is not
like illegal immigrant services, like those types of things.
Look, here's the basic premise here is that things cost money. And if the legislature is busy passing a whole lot of things that don't make any sense, there has to be a way to pay for them. Right. And if you don't think that's balanced more on the under six-figure income people than the over six-figure income people, you're crazy. Of course it's the over six-figure income people who get off easier. The unders don't. And I think that it's not punitive because basically it's because they've elected idiots to do this in the first place. But things cost money. Roads cost money. Services cost money.
Right.
Everything costs money.
And that's why businesses are fleeing places like California. It's absolutely punitive in the sense that businesses are going to go to places where they end up with the most capital to be able to build the biggest businesses that they can. And when you have places like California that are sucking up all of this capital in order to pay for these programs, you're going to have people leave.
Well, let me back up one step on that too, because it's not, I disagree with this idea that businesses pay taxes. It's a flow through expense. Businesses don't really pay taxes. It's passed on to every other entity, every other consumer, everything else. So it does become cost prohibitive for businesses. They leave the state, correct? And they leave the state for all the reasons you just identified, Jeff, which is they can't make as much money as they would in other states.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. That's kind of like water seeking its own level.
Yeah. But and Francis, and then part of this is I understand the idea of, Tesla left California to go to Texas for better tax incentives and tax, issues there. But between 2018 and 2022, I think it is, Tesla made roughly about $4.5 billion, paid their executives $2.5 billion, filed no federal income tax, and got $1 million refund. So paid their executives half of what they made, got $1 million back from us taxpayers. But it was too bad for them in California. They had to move because it was so tough to make money. So tough.
And here's the other thing, too, is that this is really fostering a lot of the problems that we see in a lot of politics. Is that
Francis, we've got to go. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
to the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. It's a great day in America's Mile High City, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Billy. 49 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 70s. The 710 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story.
You look at a poverty map and you look at an audit map, it's the same thing. The IRS goes after lower income folks. And this is, studies have been done throughout the years, and year after year, this is what happens. Because if you are lower income and the IRS gives you a call, you are going to freak out. Listen, I think anyone freaks out.
David Williams, president of the Taxpayer Protection Alliance, looking out for you. It is April 15th. Have you filed yet? Williams on with the award winners this morning. Almost half of taxpayers still don't have their Tabor refund this year. Everyone gets $800 back if they've lived in the state over a year. The Taxpayers Bill of Rights check will only be sent after returns are filed. Today is the deadline. Dougals County Commissioner Geoge Teal telling Jeff and Bill also this morning that DougCo will initiate a lawsuit against the state over two provisions to overturn two laws that prevent local law enforcement from doing their job.
We're in the middle of an illegal immigration crisis, Jeff, that terrorists are infiltrating our southern border. People on the terrorist watch list. You know who's catching them? It's not the federal authorities, it's local law enforcement. And here in Colorado, this is a huge blind spot. It goes to national security. It goes to just keeping our streets safe.
And a press conference this morning at 10 o'clock at the Miller Building in Castle Rock. A state assault weapons ban bill has passed the House and now on its way to the Colorado Senate. It would ban the manufacture, purchase, or sale or transfer of what they call assault weapons. A debate lasted 3 hours, and Democrat Tim Hernandez then throws his fist in the air.
This is the first time in Colorado history that we have considered a prohibition on the sale of assault weapons in the House chamber.
Well, they're losing their minds in Manhattan. The latest political hit job trial with former President Trump begins today. Trump says he plans to testify. He has arrived. There's an increased security presence in the Big Apple. Israel vowing to respond to Iran's weekend drone and missile attack. An aide to Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu said no final decisions have been made on the type or timing of the response. And still questions about Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, supposed to be a conservative, but a lot of conservatives taking a close look at him when it comes to preventing the feds from spying on Americans without a warrant. But he met with Trump on Friday, and he says that they are on the same page.
Yeah, the president and I agree on the necessity of the uses of FISA. Remember, that's how we kill terrorists. That's how we stop terrorist plots on U.S. soil. That's why we haven't had another 9/11 since that terrible tragedy. President Trump used it, and he reauthorized it in 2018 for 6 years, and that's why it's up again. What we did was we changed the bill to fit his requirements and ours, and that is that it would expire now 2 years from now in the middle of his next administration. So he's the one that gets to determine if it's working well. It's a critical tool to stop terrorism.
Smooth talker. I'm not so sure about him. Let's keep an eye on him and the relationship with President Trump over the next few weeks or months. 47 in Highlands Ranch, 45 in Westminster, 49 in Denver. Scotty Scheffler wins the Masters, his second green jacket in 3 years, finished 11 under. really good guy. Puts God first and then golf like third or fourth. Reigning world champion Nuggets tip off their playoff run Saturday. They beat the Grizzlies last night, and they will be the second seed. Avs close out the regular season Thursday in Lodo against the Oilers. The Rockies at the Phillies today. They lose to the Blue Jays 5-0. And once again, congrats to the Denver University Pioneers winning their 10th national championship. Unbelievable. All right, it's tax day, and Jeff and Bill continue in the 8 o'clock hour. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for a strong ridge of high pressure to develop, bringing beautiful spring weather to Denver in the Front Range through the weekend. Enjoy. Temperatures today, Saturday and Sunday will be in the 70s, overnight lows 40s, through Sunday dry. Monday will continue to be mild, low 70s. Afternoon showers and even some thunder possible late Monday afternoon and evening. Then Monday night and Tuesday trending cooler with developing showers. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
All right, you probably saw it over the weekend. A lot of missiles, drones, hundreds of them sent from Iran to attack Israel. It was heartbreaking to see all that. Fortunately, Israel's missile defense systems were able to take this on and to really stop about 99% of them.
That was cool to see, wasn't it?
It was. The Iranian attack was a response to the killing of the Iranian general that took place in Damascus about a week or so prior to that. Joining us on the Jeff and Bill show is a good friend, Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, editor of the Intermountain Jewish News. Rabbi, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill show.
Pleasure to be with you, Jeff.
So give us a sense of what you heard from friends, family members in Israel over the weekend, your perspective on what happened.
I have 3 children in Israel and several grandchildren in Israel. They all felt safe. This is the good news. The bad news is that there is a war with Iran. And it wasn't just Iran's responding to the Israeli attack on a building next to the Iranian embassy in Syria. Iran has been at war with Israel for years. Hamas is a proxy of Iran. The whole war in Gaza is a consequence of Iran's giving millions and hundreds of millions of dollars to Hamas in order to wage war against Israel. So it's very important to see this in a larger perspective. Iran wants Israel dead, as has been observed by many people. Believe evil people when they tell you what they want to do. Iran has been saying for years it wants Israel destroyed. You see, in fact, that now the mask is off. They're working not only through proxies, they're working directly.
Now, it seemed like the intelligence on this attack was much better than the intelligence on October 7th. Do you have any insight into why that may have been different? Why do you think Israel was able to prepare for this better than what happened on October 7th?
Because on October 7th, they made a lot of mistakes. Just like before October 6, 1973, which is the date of the beginning of the Yom Kippur War, Israel made a lot of mistakes. Ignored intelligence warnings. So after October 7th, they put their ducks in order. That's why this is much better, but it's also for a different reason. That is, Israel has known for a long time that Iran wants to destroy Israel. So their intelligence apparatus has been trained on Iran for many, many years.
What did you think of the American support? Did America help in repealing this? And what do you think of Joe Biden's comments on Israel and his policy towards Israel?
Well, first of all, yes, America helped. The British helped. The French helped. Perhaps others helped. But the major work, the heavy lifting, was done by the Israeli defense system. Well, I do want to make one point within this context. It's very important to note that these missiles flew over Jordan, and that Jordan also participated in taking down these missiles, which means that Jordan, not just Israel, is an enemy of Iran. Iran is not out to get only Israel. It's out to get Jordan and any Western-oriented Arab country. So we have to keep in mind this isn't just Israel versus Iran. This is Iran versus the world, versus the Western world, versus France, Britain, and many others. United States, well, yes, of course, we have gratitude to the United States for participating. But I'm offended when President Biden tries to micromanage the war, be it in Gaza or be it against Iran. I really find that to be inappropriate. There's one thing that always has to be remembered. The United States is a big country. Israel is a tiny country. The entire country is more or less the size of New Jersey. The West Bank is more or less the size of Rhode Island. The margin of error is so little. So for somebody from a really, really big country far away to be telling Israel what to do for its own safety, for its own existence, when its existence is under threat, whether from Hamas, from Iran, from Yemen, from Hezbollah, it's really inappropriate. I'm offended when, after this is my president, I'm a citizen of the United States. I'm offended when my president tries to micromanage a war, or more than one war, in Israel, where the country's at risk.
Do you think that shows fracture within the Democrat Party? I mean, the Democrat Party used to be strongly supported by the Jewish community, and we've watched, especially after October 7th, a rise of support for Gaza, for the Palestinians, protests taking out there against. They're calling Joe Biden genocidal because he partly supports Israel. It seems like the Democrat support by the Jewish community is fractured. Are you seeing that like we are?
I do see that. Before I address that, I want to come back to this one word, genocide. There's no genocide in Gaza. People toss around this word, as they do many words these days, without understanding really what they mean, without understanding their definition, without understanding where they indeed have applied. They don't apply in Gaza. There's no intent to destroy an entire people. There's no method to destroy an entire people. It's become an example of hate speech. To accuse Israel of genocide and to compare what Israel does in Gaza, which is when all is said and done, an act of self-defense. And it's a brutal act of necessity because of the way Hamas wages the war, hiding its weapons in civilian places like schools and hospitals. And that's greatly unfortunate, but it's not genocide. So we have to be very careful with the words that we use. Yes, unfortunately, there is now a division in the Democratic Party. That needs to be acknowledged. But I also think it needs to be acknowledged that that division is not a 50-50. There are a majority of Democrats in Congress who still support Israel. There are some very, very pro-Israel Democratic voices, such as Richard Torres in New York, in the Democratic Party. I'm very disturbed that there are voices in the Democratic Party that are against Israel. We also have to keep it in perspective because obviously we want is for the entire Democratic Party and Republican Party to be pro-Israel. We have to work toward that goal.
Talking to Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, the editor of the Intermountain Jewish News. Rabbi, you talked about how Jordan helped defend against the missiles that came from Iran and kind of a coalition that has built around to support Israel against Iran, that Iran is really alone. Do you attribute this to the Abraham Accords that were signed under the Trump administration?
Well, Yes, but Jordan signed a peace treaty with Israel back in 1994. But yes, I'm certain that there is, wouldn't quite call it Jordan in support of Israel. I would call it Jordan in support of itself. These drones flew over Jordanian territory and could just as well have landed there and could have been aimed at Jordan. So I think it would be perhaps more accurate, but still very positive to say that Jordan did not hesitate to take actions of self-defense, which also included the defense of the state of Israel.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point. When you have missiles flying through your airspace, it's not just the guys on the other side that are threatened. It's yours as well.
The point needs to be put out there. A lot of these missiles were aimed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Really?
So here you have a Muslim country, Iran, aiming missiles at Israel, and some of them are intercepted over the Al-Aqsa Mosque. So
and remind people what mosque that is and why that's important.
The Al-Aqsa Mosque is on the Temple Mount. It's right there, right next to the Dome of the Rock. The Temple Mount is bordered by the Western Wall, the holiest site in Jewish religion, and the Dome of the Rock is second holiest site in Islam. And there is so much really unjustified accusation of Israel for not protecting the Muslim holy places, which is contrary to fact. But here you have an outright attempt to destroy the mosque by these drones and missiles that come from Iran. This needs to be put out there. Who, in fact, is threatening religious freedom in the holy places of the Islamic religion, other than an Islamic country named Iran?
I mean, that is Israel. As one of Israel's great credits is that they own the land where you have all of these religions coming together, and you all do a very good job of being able to maintain probably what could be one of the most divisive areas in the world. Muslims are allowed to go to the Dome of the Rock. Christians can go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Jews can go to the Western Wall. And generally, you feel pretty safe walking around. I was just there about a year ago, and I had a perfectly pleasant experience being able to go to all that. So the idea that the missiles were targeted towards Jerusalem, and I remember hearing that in the reports that this was one of the first times that Jerusalem itself had to sound the sirens.
Well, the first time in recent memory, certainly in 1967 and 1948 during the Six-Day War in 67 and the War of Independence in 48, Jerusalem was heavily targeted by Arab forces. But not since. Incidentally, another point that needs to be put out there, people talk about settlements as if Israel is trying to grab land. People don't understand the reason why there are Jewish communities, which some call settlements, around the city of Jerusalem is because Jerusalem was exposed in the 1967 war, was directly attacked, was savagely attacked. There was an attempt to destroy it. And what Israel said after 67 was, we need to expand the borders in order to protect our capital city.
Talking with Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, editor of the Intermountain Jewish News. Where does this go? Everyone's waiting for an Israeli response to Iran. What do you think Israel's going to do?
Well, I don't know. But here's what I think Israel should do, and that is announce nothing. The idea that Israel puts out statements, maybe we'll do this, or maybe we'll do that. I don't see the necessity for that. I think that's unwise. Keep the enemy guessing.
Oh, I like that, Rabbi. Now, I want to ask you about Iran's direct response into Israel. I'm of the opinion that Iran is trying to slowly stair-step to pull Israel into a larger conflict in the region. Iran is trying to get other Arab states, in my opinion, on their side and trying to make this a larger Middle East conflagration and also draw the U.S. in. And that's why I feel like they attacked directly inside of Israel. What's your opinion on this, and how do you feel Iran is approaching this?
Oh, I think you're right. And they already have, to an extent, drawn in other countries. They draw it in Yemen here. Some of these missiles, all these missiles and drones and so on that came against Israel, a couple nights ago, they didn't all come from Iran.
Yeah.
And some came from Iraq. Some came from Yemen. So yes, Iran has drawn other countries into it, and that is why other Arab countries have resisted. You mentioned, Jeff mentioned a few minutes ago, the Abraham Accords. So I think where the Abraham Accords do come in here is that you didn't see the United Arab Emirates, for example, siding with Iran. You find that Saudi Arabia is essentially on Israel's side in these matters, which is a dramatic development over against history. So yes, you've got on the one hand Iran attempting to build up its own bloc of Arab countries, but then you've got resistance. You've got Egypt. You've got Saudi Arabia. You've got Jordan. There's a counter resistance, and hopefully it'll be strong enough so that Iran doesn't stimulate a world war. But on that issue, though, I do believe the United States and Israel has erred in not attacking Iran 10, 15 years ago. Iran just gets stronger. Its intentions never change. The stronger it gets, then the harder it is to counter it. And every day that goes by, it just gets harder. And you see what happens when you wait.
We're talking with Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, editor of the Intermountain Jewish News, about the attack that took place over the weekend by Iran. When you said that the U.S. should have and Israel should have attacked Iran 15 years ago, what are you talking about in particular there?
Look, people talk today about Iran is only weeks away from a nuclear bomb. Well, then it was years away. But the intent was the same. The damage that would have been done to Iran and the capacity of resistance by Iran was so much less. Remember, Israel took out the nuclear reactor in 1981 in Iraq when it was when it was just beginning. But the intent was clear. Israel took out that reactor, and there was no large military response at all from Iran. And that should have been, and then in 2007, Israel did the same thing when it detected the beginning of a nuclear reactor in Syria, and they took it out. Should have done the same thing in Iran when it would have been a lot easier to do.
Rabbi, how are Jews doing in Denver?
Say it again?
How are Jews doing in Denver these days after the anti-Semitism, after the attack on October 7th? I went to a evening gathering at a temple to talk about Jews talking about how to respond to the anti-Semitism. How are they doing in Denver these days?
Well, I would say they're doing a lot worse than they were before October 7th, but they're doing a lot better than they are in some other cities. There have been these anti-Semitic protests at the Aurora City Council, at the Denver City Council, outside the Golda Meir House, on the Aurora campus. There has been an attempt to have Hamas people speak, or they have spoken in a class at the University of Denver. These things have happened. Not good. They certainly cast a totally different feel of what it's like to be Jewish in Denver as opposed to before October. On the other hand, I don't know if Jews have been attacked. I don't know if other than the Golda Meir House on our area campus, I don't know if institutions have been attacked. I think Jews are safer here. I mean, when all is said and done, I think we all know that Denver is pretty much of a live and let live place. I mean, I remember when Federico Pena was elected mayor in 1983. Well, the majority of the electorate was white. The next largest majority of the city was black, and Pena was Hispanic, and the whole racial issue simply didn't arise in the race. And so I think our climate is better here than other places. And to the Jewish community also. At the same time, there's no doubt that things have changed since October 7th, and Jews are part of a larger people. Things are going wrong in New York City and other places. Jews are.
He's been fading in. The rabbi's been fading in and out. We may have just lost him. Rabbi, are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
All right. Sorry, the connection's been fading in and out throughout the interview, but I think we got you back. I'll ask one last question. What are your thoughts on the chance that we're coming out of Dearborn, Michigan, Death to America, the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas rallies that are taking place up there?
I think it's dangerous for America. You know, people talk about the Holocaust and 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Terrible, true. But many more millions of people who were not Jews died in World War II. When hate gets going, the victims are, the potential victims are everybody. So when you've got people defending Hamas wherever it is, the danger is yes to Jews, the danger is to everybody.
What can Americans do to support Israel right now?
I think what Americans can do is talk to the representatives, send their letters to the newspaper, and they can pray. We should never underestimate and never discount the power of prayer. And I saw a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal this morning, full page, not cheap, by a company I'd not heard of, which simply said, "We stand with Israel." Speak up. That's what we can do. We could speak up in all the media. Here, your radio show. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Newspapers, social media, direct to our Congress people, and of course, when we vote, let's look and see. Let's ask people, what's your position on Israel when we vote?
I think that's exactly right. Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, editor of the Intermountain Jewish News. It's a family-owned and operated newspaper, inherited it from his father, and then his daughter, Shauna, also runs it as well. Delightful family, and you can get a subscription to the International Jewish Newspaper by going to ijn.com. That's ijn.com. We partnered with them at the Centennial Institute, held a CCU for Israel Day where we raised $1 million in support of United Hatzalah, which is an ambulance organization in Israel to save Jewish lives in this war. Rabbi Goldberg, thank you for joining our show.
Thank you so much.
Keep us updated on what's happening. We'll rely on you for updated news in Israel. And again, friends, visit ijn.com to get a subscription to the Intermountain Jewish Newspaper. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, and thanks for all your good efforts at putting the good word out there.
Absolutely. We'll continue to stand with our Jewish friends. Bill and I may not agree on taxes and fair taxes, but we definitely agree on this issue.
And I appreciate you bringing up earlier the idea of, watching their Iron Dome work and to show how functionally it was really, really effective and can be for them. And it's been interesting to see everybody talk about the response. What's Israel going to do? I really appreciate the rabbi's point. Don't announce anything. Don't come out and say, well, we're going to. Then you're setting the table. You just want to make this a surprise. And it depends on what you would do. Okay. Let's 30 seconds of let's pretend. Okay, Jeff, you're sitting you're given charge of Israeli defense. How do you respond to this attack? What is your plan? What would you do to send a random message personally?
Yeah, here's the concern I would have about the response is, okay, you defended 300 missiles.
Yeah.
I think I've heard somewhere like hundreds of thousands are still pointed at them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe like 150,000.
Yep.
So do you want to do anything that could trigger those? Like you're able to defend 300, but if you got 150,000 pointed at you, can you still do that with your capabilities? I don't know. I was most struck by we should have attacked Iran 15 years ago.
I was struck by that too. I was like, oh, that's a whole different conversation because that's different. And it's weird for me because it's the we. And I don't know if he meant, I don't know if he meant the Israel we or the American we.
I think he meant the American too.
I do too. That's a little spooky, but I can see why. But the idea of us attacking that it went so well for us in Iraq and Afghanistan has been great too. So that's a little scary. And I think it galvanizes some of the Arab world against us. For me, if I'm making the plans today, I go after the proxies hard. I hit the Houthis. I go and I take the Houthis.
Right.
I take their ships out. I take lots of ship out. I also look into Lebanon. I go there and I lob a couple of things in there and take out some of their bases. And the reason I do that, I don't create a confrontation directly with Iran. I hurt their little brothers, and the little brothers are going to cry. And so I want to take them out so they can't create more mischief. And I want them to cry back to Iran about, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And now Iran has a real serious choice, because if they want to try to escalate this as a response for their little kids, they got a choice, because they'll probably end up alienating more people in the Middle East. And I appreciate the rabbi talking about Saudi Arabia and Egypt. Those have been two interesting, I guess I would say, partial allies to Israel right now. I don't believe they're allies per se to Israel, but they're not being adversarial. Egypt didn't open up some of their crossing points early on. Now we're getting aid through there. There needs to be more pressure there. They're not necessarily allies, but they're not being adversarial, which means I think they're open to the conversation. So, and I think Egypt and Saudi Arabia, if we get to a solution to however this is going to settle down, they're going to be very, very important to setting up whatever sort of peace deal exists. They are going to be two of the major players in that region. And Egypt, probably in my mind, rather than the Saudis, Egypt is going to have to lead the way. But that's just a guess.
So over the weekend, in response to this, Donald Trump had a rally where he basically said, what is going on in the world? You have these Ukraine issues. You have these Israel issues. You have Iran issues. You now have China, Russia. You have all these problems, and made an election day pitch that when he becomes president, the strong guys back in leadership. This is the result of a weak America. Do you agree with that? I'd like to hear from you. 303-696-1971. What should Israel do in response? Do you blame Biden for these problems? And do you think Donald Trump would do better as president than Joe Biden is with all of these problems we're facing on the international scale? Let me know. 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. Police in Australia have released more details about a weekend stabbing attack at a Sydney mall, which left 6 people killed and several others in a critical condition. Laura Westbrook has the details.
Yixuan Cheng, a young woman in her 20s from China, has been confirmed as the 6th victim who was stabbed to death at a shopping mall near Bondi Beach. She'd been studying in Sydney and was among 5 women who were killed, along with a security guard. Now, more details have emerged of the attacker Joel Cauchi's background, including a history of mental health issues. Authorities said one line of inquiry that they're pursuing is that he focused on women. Police said that it was obvious that he'd been targeting women and avoided men. The country's Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, called the gender breakdown of the victims concerning.
4 people have died after the car they were travelling in was hit by a train in rural Idaho. Police say a 38-year-old man, 36-year-old woman and 2 children were in a pickup when it crossed onto the track and into the path of a train, which intersected a private road near Notice, which is about 35 miles northwest of Boise. An investigation into the incident is underway. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, he's the editor of the Intermountain Jewish News, about what happened over the weekend, which was shocking. I mean,
yeah, it was.
Do you think we're going to end up in a direct military conflict with Iran?
If Iran has its way, yes.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Iran wants that and here's the reason why. With things like the Abraham Accords, which again was just Bahrain and United Arab Emirates, those relationships had already been established, but the fact they made them public was a big deal. It wasn't I understand that everyone talks about it being groundbreaking as far as the Middle East. Not necessarily. It was an open secret at the time, but the fact they came out and made the relationship public, yeah. It's like the people at the office had been dating for a long time and finally we're dating, Rick. Yeah, we all knew. But thank you for making it public so we can all talk about it now. That's kind of what it was. But the relationship we have with Saudi Arabia and how Egypt is in there, I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to alienate Israel. That Israel, the normalization of Middle Eastern relationships with Israel is what they don't want. Right. And they're seeing steps going that direction.
Do you think the people of Iran support this? So what I noticed over the weekend was that the minute they launched this, they had all these PR photos, right? That Fox was running, and they all were conveniently wearing masks.
Yeah.
But they all were running around with the Iran flags, jumping around out there. And
of course, my guess would be some of those are actual prisoners, and I'm like, here, we will shoot you unless we get to film you doing this. And they're like, good idea. Give me the flag. I will happily do this. I mean, I'm sure that
the mullahs.
Exactly. The thing is, the average Iranian doesn't like that. The average Iranian is actually very open to a relationship with America. They don't view us as the devil. It's the people up top, and it is a very suppressive regime.
Right.
And that's part of the problem. And, it's the other thing that I'm worried about, though, is I'm worried that Israel will use too big of a hammer at times. And what I mean by that is coming in a little too hard. And some of the things I'm worried about are we're reaching famine conditions in certain areas of Gaza. Mm-hmm. And unless Israel, and it's so hard to do this, but unless Israel bends over backwards to allow aid to come in and to do that, it begins to give a bad taste to the Arab world. So there has to be some PR, in my mind, on Israel's side there. It's not necessarily fair in any way, shape, or form, but I believe Israel has to do twice as much PR in what we're doing, why we're doing, here's what's happening, to push back on the Arab world narrative, especially that one that's coming from Hamas, because Hamas is just lying through their teeth about what's going on. And we've talked about that before. But I feel that Israel has to understand the PR game they're doing as much as the war game. And I'm worried that they're going to let the PR game fall to the wayside, and that's going to hurt the messaging, and we're going to get some problems.
You don't think aid's getting into Gaza?
Oh, it is, but not at the level that it needs to be. And part of that being, I mean, we do have famine conditions there. And Israel hasn't been letting some in, but the Palestinians and Hamas also haven't been letting them in. Egypt has also been not letting some in. We've got a real issue with getting food, water, things like that in. And then what really hurts is the organization that had 7 people killed by the Israeli strike.
The food,
and
hunger, world
exactly. I remember who it is.
table.
Yeah, world, whatever it is. But if you need someone to get aid there, they're it. They are incredibly good at it. In fact, if you had to say, hey, we have aid, we need to get it somewhere, they can get it on par with how quickly our military can get it done. They are that good at it. And now they're pulling out. So because of their people were killed, and now we can't put our people into these situations. So that is going to hurt the PR game because it's going to hurt the conditions there. And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about those things because I think Israel, I don't believe, is doing this intentionally in any way, shape, or form. And they have every right to go after it because of what Hamas did. But the Arab world is wearing a different set of glasses. It's not fair.
It is amazing. It's amazing to me that they get attacked on October 7th. Viciously raped, beaten, murdered, try to respond, and then all of a sudden everybody cares about how you fight a war.
Yeah, it's and what happens and
like, it's those guys that we got to care about how they fight a war, not the ones that raped innocent women.
Yeah, and this is the problem is I see the PR is that I believe Israel needs to keep coming back to, and this is why I keep coming back to it. That when Hamas attacked, they didn't attack military or strategic targets. They attacked people.
They attacked 15-year-old girls.
Yes, exactly. And Israel needs to reinforce that and say, this is an enemy who came in and attacked civilians. We are attacking military targets, and we are doing this. Some civilians are being hurt, and that's why, in my mind, you bend over backwards as far as aid. Even if you don't trust some of that aid coming in, let it go. Let it go. Because if your military is really that strong, if your information is really that strong, you'll get to those guys. So let it come in because you need to play that PR game. And I'm worried about that on Israel's side because, again, the filter, how the Arab world views this to begin with, they're not huge fans. So looking for any warts.
You know what's kind of amazing to me is in all those hostages, I think there's like 8 Americans that are still captive.
Yeah. It's because
like
biggest chips. Yeah.
Well, I understand that. We have an entire television program that was created on a daily update around American hostages on Iran. That's why Nightline was created.
Yeah.
I think if you ask the average person out there how many people or how many Americans are captive by Hamas, they would say zero. They have zero idea.
Yeah.
Right.
They may have said we had some, but they probably would think they've already been released.
Right.
But yeah, that is a really good point. You know, I appreciate you bringing up that, my friend, because I think that has been a failure of the American media system, that the American media system should keep talking about, hey, this, and it has been this many days with the Americans still there. And it is the American media responsibility to tell us Hamas is going to hang on to those hostages until the last possible moment because, in part, it prevents us from getting further involved. They're trying to keep it as a buffer as far as the negotiation. So we need to, in the media, be very honest about they have our hostages and they're doing this to keep us out of the larger fight. So in order to do that, we need to do X, Y, and Z. That's why we need to support Israel with the money. It's because then we're not getting into the larger fight. That's why we need to support Israel with the intelligence, because then it's not drawing us into the larger fight. And we need to support Israel this way to get our hostages back. But again, it's the American media, and our bar there
if you're an
so
WNBA player, you might be more coverage there.
Yeah, but don't be a reporter. Don't do that.
With all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Do yourself a favor. Go there. Staff goes beyond expectations, and they provide excellent service. It's affordable, friendly, reasonable, gentle, careful, kind service. And if you are experiencing recession on your upper or lower gums, ask Dr. Mike about the groundbreaking procedure called pinhole gum rejuvenation technique, a treatment option for those experiencing receding gums. It's scalpel-free, suture-free, and a graft-free procedure. Just a tiny pinhole and a gentle repositioning of the gums. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com or call 303-233-1335 for a free consultation. That's 303-233-1335. Saw this news on Congressional District 5. So we hosted Dave Williams, candidate, on Friday on the show, on the Jeff and Bill show, and talked about his race for Congressional District 5. Jeff Crank has gotten enough to get on the ballot as well, but Republican Bob Gardner falls short on petitions, fails to qualify for primary in Colorado's 5th congressional district. State Senator Bob Gardner, no newbie down at the state capitol, a long tenured career down there, a brilliant lawmaker, in my opinion, has done a fantastic job as a statesman down at the state capitol, but failed to qualify for Colorado's 5th congressional district Republican primary after his petitions came up short. The Colorado Springs lawmaker said on Saturday, this is from Colorado Politics, this leaves state GOP chairman Dave Williams and political consultant Jeff Crank as the two Republicans vying for the seat held by retiring U.S. Representative Doug Lamborn. Now, we heard from Dave Williams on Friday. This week, we're going to hear from Jeff Crank. So you're not going to want to miss that conversation later this week.
Was that a surprise for you?
It's going to be a big one.
Was that a surprise that he didn't make it on?
Yeah, it was, because he
I think so.
typically hires good teams and good, smart, professional people.
What do you think it says, the fact that he couldn't get the number of signatures? I mean, again, the ballot signatures, but what do you think? I mean, is it...
You don't have to get a lot.
I know. That's what I'm looking at, though. Is
1,500.
Yeah, and normally you go ahead and you gather 2 to 3 times.
Way more, right,
exactly. Because you're going to get challenges, and everyone always does get challenges. So that just surprised me a lot that normally he's very buttoned up. Normally organization is very buttoned up. And I can't figure out if it was just poor execution by the organization gathering signatures, or was it just Was it just average voters going no?
I don't think it would have been no, because he's not controversial.
I know.
I don't. I wouldn't agree with every vote he's done, but
that's
anybody's
what I'm
vote.
about.
But he's generally considered kind of an elder statesman down at the state capitol. So a thoughtful lawmaker. He's not bombastic. He's not on Twitter yelling at people and picking fights.
Can I tell you something I did this weekend?
Yeah, please.
This is like tangential, because you know me, I'm not linear. So there was a signature person outside the King Supers. I went and get something this weekend. So she's out there, very nice. Now she's requisite number of feet away. I don't see her coming in, but I come back out. And she asks me about whether or not I can sign the petition and everything else. And I stop her and I go, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm here illegally. And she just, her face just stopped. I mean, just.
I bet they haven't had that thrown at them before.
Especially from me, fat old white guy.
Right.
And it was this moment of, you could see kind of the layers in her head going through, wait, what? Hold on. And she's I could almost in real time see her processing this and trying to figure out, is he screwing with me or not? And by that time I turned and walked away, and hopefully she figured it out. But that is I enjoyed that so much. I can pass that on to whoever else wants to use it. You listener,
that's a good one.
Please do, especially if you have the same pale skin tone as me. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy it. So I'm sorry, continue. But
that is funny.
Do that. Absolutely. Encourage your kids to do
ran
that.
into someone at the library on the abortion care thing, and for me it's or the abortion amendment to the Constitution. And it's always just, don't turn on radio, Jeff. Just be nice, because
that's hard, isn't it?
I know you want to debate the issues.
Oh,
well, let's discuss.
Yeah. Radio bill comes out every once in a while. It's like, yeah, no, it's not good. Not good. Not always for public.
We all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Surveys show that 50% of people using UltraCur find relief within 48 hours, and half of those within 2 hours. Experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro Natural Grocers and ask for the health coach or the vitamin manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology to give you the true edge to support your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. If you've tried everything without much success, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to try UltraCur today. UltraCur gives you unique control over your daily wellness. It's gentle on your stomach, and it's a natural antioxidant. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers and grab your free 3-day UltraCure trial with no strings attached. Wondering about the research? Get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. We'll continue with your calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I saw this in the New York Times over the weekend. I thought it was very interesting. Voters look back at Trump's presidency more positively.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And this was a poll by the New York Times.
Yeah.
And Siena College finds that voters think highly of the former president's record on the economy, but memories of his divisiveness largely remain intact. How do you feel about the Trump presidency?
And does this help him win?
As you look back, this was 4 years ago now. As you look back, do you look more positive on that? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. We'll continue with news and talk. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Good morning, Denver. It's 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. My name's Jeff Hunt. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. We're going to be gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Bill. 56 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 70s. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, the media losing their minds in Manhattan right now. The latest political trial with former President Trump begins today. There's increased security presence in the Big Apple as Trump has arrived.
There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country.
Got me kind of pumped up.
That's great.
Speaking not of freedom, David Williams, president of the Taxpayer Protection Alliance, looking out for you.
You look at a poverty map and you look at an audit map, it's the same thing. The IRS goes after lower income folks. And this is, studies have been done throughout the years, and year after year, this is what happens. Because if you are lower income and the IRS gives you a call, you are going to freak out. Listen, I think anyone freaks out.
It is April 15th. Have you filed yet? Williams on with Jeff and Bill this morning. Almost half of taxpayers in Colorado still don't have their Tabor refund. This year, everyone gets $800 back if they've lived in the state over a year. The Taxpayers Bill of Rights check will only be sent after returns are filed.
Just for a second, think about what Timmy Hernandez would do with those extra $800. Think about all the good
top 10 things he would do. T-shirts for all.
Yeah, he'd buy like a bunch of Che Guevara t-shirts. We'd all get a free Che Guevara t-shirt. We'd all get a free Chinese flag. All sorts of stuff.
Headbands.
Yes.
Yeah. Or what do you call them? Not headband. What do you call the? What am I thinking of?
Yeah. And if you had enough, he could even open his own re-education camps. I'm just.
Yeah, that's exactly what he would do.
Yeah. Don't put it past him.
Yeah.
No doubt. Dougals County Commissioner Geoge Teal telling you guys this morning that Dougco will initiate a lawsuit against the state over two provisions to overturn two laws that prevent local law enforcement from doing their job.
We're in the middle of an illegal immigration crisis, Jeff, that terrorists are infiltrating our southern border. People on the terrorist watch list. You know who's catching them? It's not the federal authorities. It's local law enforcement. And here in Colorado, this is a huge blind spot. It goes to national security. It goes to just keeping our streets safe.
And speaking of Tim Hernandez.
This is the first time in Colorado history that we have considered a prohibition on the sale of assault weapons in the House chamber.
A state assault weapons ban bill has passed the House and now on its way to the Colorado Senate. It would ban the manufacturing, purchase, sale, or transfer of what they call assault weapons. A debate lasted 3 hours, and he was one of the sponsors, of course. Israel vowing to respond to Iran's weekend drone and missile attack. An aide to Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu said no final decisions have been made on the type or timing of the response. Rabbi Hillel Goldberg from the Intermountain Jewish News on the show last hour.
Because on October 7th, they made a lot of mistakes. Just like before October 6, 1973, which is the date of the beginning of the Yom Kippur War, Israel made a lot of mistakes, ignored intelligence warnings. So after October 7th, they put their ducks in order. That's why this is much better.
And it didn't happen over the weekend. That was a great interview, guys. 54 in Littleton, 53 in Lakewood, 56 in Denver. Scotty Scheffler wins the Masters, his second green jacket in 3 years. Nuggets start the playoffs this weekend on Saturday. The Avalanche, they close out the regular season Thursday in Lodo against the Oilers. The Rockies at the Phillies today afternoon baseball. And once again, the DU Pioneers are national champions for the 10th time. The Power Hour, 9 o'clock hour of the award-winning Jeff and Bill show continues. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast calls for a strong ridge of high pressure to develop, bringing beautiful spring weather to Denver and the Front Range through the weekend. Enjoy. Temperatures today, Saturday and Sunday will be in the 70s, overnight lows 40s through Sunday dry. Monday will continue to be mild, low 70s, afternoon showers and even some thunder possible late Monday afternoon and evening. Then Monday night and Tuesday trending cooler with developing showers. Meteorologist Don Day on 710 KNUS.
Were the years with Donald Trump better than the years with Joe Biden? This is a new poll out from the New York Times. 4 years out, some voters look back at Trump's presidency more positively. A new poll by the New York Times and Siena College finds that voters think highly of the former president's record on the economy, but memories of his divisiveness largely remain intact. Views of Donald J. Trump's presidency have become more positive since he left office, bolstering his case for election and posing a risk to President Biden's strategy of casting his opponent as unfit for the presidency. While the memories of Mr. Trump's tumultuous and chaotic administration have not significantly faded, many voters now have a rosier picture of his handling of the economy, immigration, and maintaining law and order. Ahead of the 2020 election, only 39% of voters said that the country was better off after Mr. Trump took office. Now, looking back, nearly half say that he improved things during his time as president. That's an 11-point swing. The poll findings underscore the way in which a segment of voters have changed their mind about the Trump era, recalling those years as a time of economic prosperity and strong national security. The shift in views about his administration comes even as Mr. Trump faces dozens of felony accounts and will appear in a New York courtroom on Monday for jury selection in one of his 4 criminal trials. I'd love to hear from listeners on this question. Do you agree with the finding of these polls? Do you look more positively upon the Trump years, 4 years, 2016 to 2020, than you did initially following the Trump years? So that's kind of what they measure here. That people in 11 point or so that initially were more negative on his presidency now look back on those years more positively. Give me a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Do you think this is going to have an impact on the election?
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
Absolutely will. Absolutely. Yeah.
Why is that?
Hang on.
Oh, we've got phone calls already coming in. I don't know. I think, it does. But I also think that this is kind of a natural trend that happens in politics where people, immediately coming out of the 4 or 8 years of a particular president are more negative, like especially with Bush, right? I'm going to go back to the Bush years. You leave the Bush years in 2007, and that was generally a pretty rough few years for Republicans. And people were pretty negative on Bush's leadership, and the Republicans had lost both the House and Senate. Now you're removed 4 or 5 years removed from it, and people are like, it wasn't so bad back then. So I think there's part of a natural progression that happens. But Bill, before we get to Pete, you think this will help Trump in the election?
I think it can. I think we're looking at kind of a 50-50 coin toss at this point. The one thing that I find interesting is in the headline for that story, it's like people are looking back 4 years ago with fond memories kind of thing with Trump there. And I'm just wondering if the person Times has a calendar. Do they have a calendar? Because 4 years ago was...
COVID
2020. Yeah, let's see. We were all at home. We weren't going to restaurants. We weren't going to church. We weren't going to schools. We were all wearing masks, and we had 1 million Americans die over the course of it. And if that is the time, if we're talking about, and this is, again, tongue in cheek, but if we're talking about making America great again, if that's the again, I'm not on board. Not on board. I don't want to go back to 4 years ago. That was a mess. So that to me, there are going to be 2 major weaknesses in Trump's reelection pitch. The number one, we've talked about it before, I believe that his Achilles heel, not the largest issue, but his Achilles heel is going to be election fraud January 6th. I think that hurts a lot. The other one that, depending on how the Democrats use it, will be COVID, because nobody looks at our response during 2020, one of the largest issues that we had and emergencies we had in this country, and gone, boy, did we handle that well. And that was his administration. And that's going to be a thing, because most people, when they think COVID, et cetera, think Biden. And if the Democrats can remind everybody who was the president during that, it's going to hurt him, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Pete, we'll get to you in just a second. Look, your home is a significant asset, and choosing the right team to help you sell it can be the difference in thousands of dollars in your pocket. I highly recommend Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team, the realtors I trust. Empower Home team provides exceptional service, invaluable advice, and employs unique systems to maximize your money to what you can get for your home. Getting an offer above your home's asking price is great, but you're leaving money on the table by not working with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Gay and her experts get their clients an average of $30,000 more. Could you use an extra $30,000? That's precisely why you need Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Their exclusive database is filled with pre-screened buyers ready to make a purchase. Take the stress and hassle out of selling your home while getting the best price. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayhasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. Pete, Colorado Springs, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, gentlemen. I see the next election is coming down to basically two things, and those things are going to be how people vote, whether they vote with their emotion or they vote with their actual what's going on in reality. The reality is most Americans, if not all Americans, were better off 4 years ago, especially the economy, the world situation. Inflation's out of control. People just don't buy the idea that most families are really struggling in this country financially, and it was better under Trump. I think Bill raises a couple good points about COVID, but the simple fact about COVID is, look at which party wanted the lockdowns, look at which party wanted to force the vaccinations. And I think Trump could turn around if he was smart and say, listen, I did do the vaccines and tried to push them out. But that's a scientific and a medical response to this. And if the vaccinations doesn't work the way they were supposed to, that's not on me. But the simple fact of the matter is I find it hard to believe, if you rationally and realistically look at our country 4 years ago, especially the economy, especially the state of the world, how anyone can make an argument that we were better off or that we are better off today. Look what's going on in the Middle East now. You now have Iran, a major threat. It's no longer a proxy war over there. They've stepped it up. Our border is wide open. God knows who has come across that border. And I believe that if we get hit, or if crime continues to go the way it is, that most Americans are going to vote with their head rather than the emotion. Now, one thing that could affect is this trial that is going on, and how ugly and how gory the details on what kind of man Trump was to his wife and some of these women. Again, people may vote emotionally on that.
Yeah. Now, Pete, I got a question for you. You're talking about us voting with our head and not emotionally based on the economy. And we had a little bit of this discussion last week, but with the economy, the U.S. GDP is higher under Biden than it is under Trump. The stock market has gone up 19,000 points under Biden, which is higher than it is under Trump. It broke records under Biden that it couldn't break under Trump, even though they were trying to get it there. Our corporations are making larger profits than they ever have.
Let me ask you, Bill.
Yeah.
What do the polls say about the economy right now?
Okay, but
the polls say that, hold on, the average American right now has less than $500 in their bank account. Okay, we're in greater debt. The average American is in greater debt. Credit card debt just went past $1 trillion. You can throw all these things at me. The simple fact it is the average American and the majority of Americans are struggling economically today, whether they weren't or they were in better shape for years ago.
Yeah,
I don't
Pete,
think
Pete, that's exactly right.
arguable.
No, Pete, that's exactly right. And here's the thing: I understand what the polls say, and that is a good reflection of how people are feeling. And this, when you were talking about voting with our heads, and that's where I'm going with this. If we use our heads, the fundamentals of the economy are stronger under Biden than they were under Trump. But I also agree.
You really believe that?
Wait, hang on, Pete, hang on. It's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of fact. The GDP is higher under Biden than it was under Trump. The gains in the stock market are higher under Biden than they were under Trump. The idea and earnings, earnings for corporations are higher under Biden than Trump. I do, however, not disagree with you that the average consumer, you, me, Jeff, are being punished. Absolutely, we are, based on how the economy is running right now. Yes, we
Bill,
are.
what do you think the true rate of inflation is? What the government tells you, or do you think it's more closer to, let's say, 15 to 20%?
I believe it's closer to where the government is functionally. But again, why is that inflation going up? What are the policies that Biden has put in place and the policies that Trump can implement that would reduce inflation, in your opinion? What can Trump do?
Right away, what you do is you turn our own energy loose.
Wait, what do you mean by our own energy? What do you mean by that?
We shouldn't be buying oil from a country that hates us.
Okay.
And helps fund wars like in other places around the world.
That's fair, but
We have enough
Pete,
oil
right now,
reserves.
yeah, we do. But Pete, right now, we are producing more oil than we ever have in our history, and America is producing more oil than any country has in the history of the world.
No. Wait, Bill. But we're not we're not energy independent anymore, which we were under Trump for the first time in our history.
Hang on, Pete. That's
So
incorrect. No,
everything
Pete. Hang on, Pete. That is incorrect. The way that Trump said that we were energy independent was that we were exporting more than we were importing. That is still true under Biden. In fact, the percentage has grown. So if we are going by the energy independence model that Trump used, Biden has increased it. I agree with you that we should not be importing as much oil as we are. I would like to get there with you. But if we're using the measuring stick that Donald Trump used, Biden is doing a better job. Those are just facts.
I think, again, most Americans are going to disagree with you, Bill.
I know, but it doesn't make them right. Most Americans can believe they can flap their arms and.
Hold on.
I'm trying.
It does make them right.
No, it
because
doesn't.
They're the ones going to the grocery store and paying $7
Pete,
for a dozen eggs.
Pete, hang on a sec. Pete, most Americans can agree and believe they can flap their arms and fly to the moon. It doesn't mean it's correct.
But Bill,
polls are about belief.
Hold on.
That's fine.
All the examples you just used were just one aspect of the economy. The idea that Americans are paying more out of their pocket to maintain the same lifestyle they did 4 years ago is true.
Yes, it is true. And I
And
also
so
asked,
you can't just look at
policy?
one component and go, well, the economy's really strong. I know it's really hard to get by right now, but the fundamentals of the economy are strong. I think that is just looking at a small component. Well, not just small, but a component of the economy without looking at the full picture.
But hang on a second. The fundamentals of the economy is the large picture. And I agree with both Pete and Jeff that the average person is struggling right now. That's why I asked the question, and I would love to have either one of you address it. What are the policies that President Trump is going to implement or change under Biden that is going to make your prices at the grocery store cheaper?
Regulatory.
What's he going to do?
Regulatory.
I agree. I think he deregulates things. I think he gets energy back on track. I think once you start having gas prices drop and people can get product to the supermarkets much cheaper. I know farmers out here saying, listen, we're paying basically 3 times as much in trying to get our crops to market than we did 4 years ago. That has a direct effect on people's ability to go to a supermarket and buy things cheap. The average family of 4 is spending $12,000 more a year
than they did 4 years
and
ago.
Trump is going to
That's
change that
$1,000
how?
a month.
And how is Trump
What's
going
that?
to change it? What is Trump's policy that he is going to use to change this?
Again,
and the
Bill,
idea,
I go back and say the Americans were better off in a
no,
Trump
I asked you a
economy than they
question.
are now.
I know, but the what I'm telling you, there are functions as to why you and I are paying more at the store.
Right.
And we went over this yesterday.
Regulations.
No, it hasn't been increased
Oh,
regulations.
yes, it
No, it's
has.
profit taking based on
absolutely-
corporations.
No, it's
Okay, so
absolutely regulations.
what are the regulations that's causing you to pay more for the meat rather than the fact that it's under monopoly and they're controlling
Well,
the
because
prices?
if you're paying way more for gas, how do you think meat is raised? You have to go out. You have to feed the cattle. You have to buy cattle feed that costs much more.
We're not
farm.
paying functionally more than gas than it would be under Trump based on how the
Oh,
curve
you're-
goes.
I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, that's okay, but that's what the curve
We're
shows.
up about $1.75 more a gallon under Biden on average than we did on Trump.
During average presidents over the course of their term, do gas prices go up or down based on the function of time in the economy? Because they've gone up under every single president.
I think
Okay?
they go up and down based on the
I
policy
know,
of the president.
but
and
from
how,
the beginning of a term of a president to the end, gas prices have increased under every single one. Every
course,
one of
that's
them.
a function of an economy.
Thank you. That's what I said. And I told you that we're exactly on the curve that we should be with
But
those
hold on,
gas
Bill.
prices.
People's wages also go up at the same time.
No,
which
they
is not
don't.
happening under
No, they
Biden.
don't. They don't. And they didn't
Yes,
go. And
they
they
do.
didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't go up that much under Trump. And there was some under Obama. No, the wages have been suppressed for decades. But that's okay.
I think this is going to be a really hard message, Bill. I mean, you can go out there. You can go out there and say, "Well, stock markets are doing great," and by the way, we're producing more oil than we ever have before. And I think you're micro focusing on a particular stats when people's lives and their own bank accounts are driving people to look more favorably upon Trump's leadership.
Yeah.
And I
agree.
I think it falls ultimately flat.
I
Pete,
agree.
I appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Pete's line will be open 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. New York Times poll out over the weekend. 4 years out, some voters look back at Trump's presidency more positively. A new poll by the New York Times finds that voters think highly of the former president's record on the economy, but memories of his divisiveness largely remain intact. I want to focus in on that part here. Do you blame Trump for the divisiveness? Do you blame Trump for the divisiveness? Or do you kind of, in my opinion, look more at a media that didn't like him, that was more organized in attacking him? And then, when Joe Biden gets elected, it's like, what's your favorite chocolate ice cream? I'm not sure I hold President Trump entirely responsible just for the divisiveness that happens. I think it was a media and political opponents that were driving that. But give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Want to know the least attractive and most aging? Well, it's hair loss. No amount of car, house, or success can make up for that thinning or balding, as it leaves the greatest lasting physical impression. It doesn't have to be that way. Advanced Hair has the quick one-day solution to your hair loss. No more expensive pills or special shampoos, just your very own natural hair guaranteed to grow. And with Advanced Hair, your new hair can grow for life. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day? For your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. And if you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Visit advancedhair.com for more information. That's advancedhair.com. Jim, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jim.
Hey, good morning. All this garbage feelings that we're talking about didn't just occur over a short period of time. Globalization actually began in the early 70s, and our leadership understood that it was going on. That's why Nixon, Tricky Dick, stopped and froze prices and wages. And then after that, they attached our currency to OPEC oil. And then, of course, Iran nationalized their oil 3 separate times because they understood what was going on with energy prices. So globalization is what gave us the false sense of security that we had good leadership. But we now have leaders that are arguing whether we should get away from globalization and do everything ourselves. And that is extremely inflationary. And that inflation doesn't just kick in after 6 months or a year. It takes decades to kick in. So if we don't get back to globalization, you're going to see the price of a house being $1 million. The price of a car over a 10-year ownership period is probably $100,000 right now. And it's going nowhere but up. And our currency isn't going to buy us anything.
Jim, you're making the argument that Trump's tariffs are going to make things a lot worse?
They haven't even kicked in yet. They've barely kicked in. The only thing that's really kicked in with Trump's tariffs is the secondary tariffs from China, but many of the suppliers for the steel industry out of business. And when they don't have those suppliers to feed into the steel industry, then their prices skyrocket and they fire people, which is exactly what happened. Now, that occurred over a couple-year period of time. But what's about to occur if we decide we don't like globalization, when in fact we're the ones that brought globalization to the world, and then we skimmed off the top of it and we all think that we're great and we've got more billionaires than anybody else. I got to let you know that a billionaire takes more money, government money, out of circulation than a millionaire. And if we've got more billionaires and we measure, that's our measure of success, then the government is going to have to create more Fugazis money out of thin air and hand it out to people. And I do realize one thing. Any dollar I've ever had in my wallet has never had my name on it. It says U.S. government. It's not my money. The government creates it and they circulate it with, now they circulate it with lobbyists, and we see the money circulate different ways. So fortunately, we have guns that are legal in this country, and maybe someday the population, might just rise up and say, hey, the billionaires over here have taken all the money that the government created and put it in their pockets, taken it out of circulation, and now we, the masses, cannot afford food, let alone a family, or to fill our gas tank, or to purchase a house.
And you blame the billionaires for that?
Towards the east. I don't blame the billionaires for anything. I'm just telling you, if money doesn't circulate, the government will print more.
Okay.
Yeah, he is right.
All right, Jim, appreciate the call. Jim from Denver, his line's open, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. What does he think? Like their billionaires are like Scrooge McDuck and they put them in they put all their coins and dollars and they swim around in it?
Pretty much what they do.
No, they don't. They invest it back into the economy.
Not all the time and not
in
necessarily.
Businesses?
No.
Who do you think built Jeff Bezos's boat? People did.
Yeah.
And he paid for it.
Yeah, but he also keeps a whole lot of money in other types of investments that don't create any jobs. But that's okay.
Like what?
How about stock market? Let's do that.
Stock market doesn't create jobs?
Not directly, no. No.
How's the stock? What is Pepsi trading then?
But no, it's not. Pepsi's not trading anything.
You and I are. Stocks?
No, but you and I are. Pepsi's not trading anything.
I don't understand this at all. Okay. Pepsi employs people.
Here's the idea. I know, but it doesn't matter. Here's the idea. Okay, watch. Jim, who's just here, he's starting a new business. Jim's Magic New Business. I buy Jim's Magic New Business stock at $100. Jim gets the $100 as that investment. Yes. Okay. Jim's magic business is doing great. The stock goes up to $150. I sell you the stock for $150.
Right.
And Jim gets exactly
what?
Nothing. Jim gets nothing off of it. So when you and
but
I
how does
are
that
trading,
not affect the value of the company?
No. It's not creating jobs and putting people to work that way.
But
they can then take out loans.
Pepsi doesn't own
it.
any of its own stock?
Well, yes, they do. But the issue, what I'm talking to you in the stock market, you're buying the stock from me.
Right.
Jim gets no money from that. All the trades don't derive any specific
but
benefits.
in your world, Pepsi doesn't have any stock.
No,
they couldn't sell any to get cash. If they
Pepsi-
needed to sell something to get
yeah.
cash, they could.
Pepsi, yes,
and if their
if they
stock's
did.
worth more, then they could get more cash.
Yeah, but guess what? That's if Pepsi sells it. But you and I selling it back and forth
Right.
gives no direct profit to Pepsi unless they either take loans against it or sell their stock. That's it. So again, when Pepsi sells their stock, they derive a benefit.
But you have-
and I trading the stock derives no direct benefit to Pepsi. It
Right,
doesn't
but-
employ anybody, doesn't help them employ anybody,
But
doesn't
you
do
have
anything.
50, you have 50 now more dollars. So what are you going to do with your 50 more dollars?
If I go out and I buy more stock, I can buy more stock with it.
Right, but you
Again,
could also buy Pepsi.
I could, but I could also
And where
buy,
does that money go?
But again, I could also buy more stock, and that doesn't create the jobs. You're asking me how it doesn't
No,
create
you're looking
jobs, and
at
there
one
it is.
small component of a trade that takes place and saying it doesn't. Stocks don't
hang on a
benefit
sec.
the company. Of
The
course
va-
they do.
The vast majority of trades on the stock market and are between individuals like you and I. This is the example of the vast majority on the stock market. And you're asking me how it doesn't create jobs. There it is. There's your example. The vast majority of the trades in the stock market are exactly what we did. And the company derives no direct economic benefit from it. Nobody extra is employed because of that. No
I
one's
think
got it.
it's an incomplete analysis, but
Well,
that's my
that's how it
thoughts.
works.
All right. Jeff Hunt here for my friends at Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer. Dan is also a former seminarian. Dan has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS law.com. When we come back, we continue this conversation. Do you believe that the Trump years were better than the Biden years as it relates to the economy and national security? Pull out from the New York Times. 4 years out, some voters look back at Trump's presidency more positively, a 11-point swing from how they viewed his presidency just after 2020. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Berlin, I'm Trent Murray, and here are the top stories we're following. 2 officers from upstate New York have died after shots were fired while they were investigating a stolen vehicle overnight. Both were taken to Syracuse University Hospital in a critical condition, but were later pronounced dead by doctors. The prime suspect in the shooting was found dead at the scene. President Joe Biden has told Israel's leader the United States will not get involved in any tit-for-tat strikes against Iran. That's as G7 leaders have condemned Iran's drone attack against Israel and reaffirmed their commitment to the country's security. Our Washington correspondent Jagrudi Dave has more.
In a statement, the Group of 7, which includes the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan and the European Union, said with its actions, Iran has further stepped towards the destabilization of the region. The leaders said they're working on avoiding this and to stabilize the situation, and have demanded that Iran and its proxies cease their attacks. The White House's National Security Council coordinator John Kirby said it's up to Israel how it responds to Iran's attacks. But US officials have said that Joe Biden has called on Israel to think carefully about its next move.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Trent Murray in Berlin on Salem News Channel.
It's been a feisty text line this morning over taxes. Everyone's in a good mood today over taxes.
Oh, yeah. It's always a happy day. It's just great because, we all get big, fat government checks.
That's right, because they just print money.
Yeah. I mean, there are very few checks that hurt more than writing that one.
Yeah.
Because that one's
Well,
just...
that's the property tax one. It's the most painful.
Oh, that one sucks. So, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to remind people this Friday, Brandon Tatum's going to join us live in person down at the Black Eyed Pea in Castle Rock from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be broadcasting live. Brandon Tatum will be down there with us. You can enjoy a delicious breakfast, see the broadcast in person. You can throw food at me or Bill based upon who you agree or disagree with, because you pretty much do that with the text messages anyways.
Yeah, you do. And I really hope that everybody comes on out to Castle Rock, sees us at the Black Eyed Pea there, because the amount of work that the legal department had to do in order to get me into public, this is significant. I mean, just please.
The whole insurance policy taken out on him.
The number of things I had to sign. I mean, these are hundreds and hundreds of hours that we had to pay our legal peoples. So please help us get a little bit of return on that investment. We'd love to come out there, have you guys say hello. It doesn't matter. Like me, dislike me. I will be more than happy to take a picture with you. You want to take a picture with me that you can show your friends that you got the best of this, the A hat right here. Please come on out. I'm a professional wrestling fan. I will make it fun. I have no problem making fun of myself. I'll do this for you, but you got to come out and say hi to me.
Here's a question I got for you.
Yeah.
Would you let somebody give you the one finger salute in a picture?
Hell yeah. Please, I'll give you both fingers.
Here's why.
Heck yeah.
Here's why I bring that up. We were down at the March for Life last week on Friday. Great event. It's like it's a whole event made up of Catholic high school.
It is really
kids,
cool.
Right?
Yeah, that is such a neat. I'm glad you went.
And there was just some dude who decided he was going to spend his afternoon with the two-finger salute as a bunch of high school Catholic kids went by talking about the March for Life and the sanctity of life. And I was like, bro, really?
See, I love it because
you had to come down and just do that.
The thing for me is that he took time out of his day. So whatever it is, you've annoyed that person so much. For me, it's like, take the win. That is a win that you have had this person change their plans for an entire day just to come out here and wiggle a finger at me. Thank you. I appreciate that. And here's the reason why also. Again, pro wrestling fan. There's a performer that I really enjoy. He's a heel. He's a bad guy. I mean, nice guy in person, but he plays a bad guy. And he doesn't break character. If you go up to him in an event
in public,
he does not break character. And like, he goes to fan events and stuff where you stand in line and sign sign autographs and take pictures. Universally, he will flip you off in the picture. and here's the other part this is the part that I respect about him not breaking character. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you are 10, he'll flip you off, only because that's the character. So again, I will play into the professional wrestling. You want to come out, you want to give me the finger. Hey, if you guys want to pull the Stone Cold or the Too Cold Scorpio on me, I get it. If wrestling fans understand that, you come out and you want to play Too Cold with me, we'll get you the best picture you can possibly. But you have to understand the type of pictures that Too Cold Scorpio took with his fans, and that would make a lot of sense. And if you do that, I'll do that with you. Come on out and say hi.
I saw the story in the Denver Post. I want to get to it definitely by the end of the show.
Yeah.
Fear of getting assaulted and drug use are factors in RTD driver shortage.
Yeah, you think? Wow. Yes.
I was thinking about this after I read this article, being like, yeah, seriously, who would drive those?
Oh, here's the thing is, I don't think we've talked about this, that my school going experience, I rode the rough, tough, and dirty from 3rd grade. So yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh no,
I always heard it the reason to drive.
No, it's the rough, tough, and dirty, because that's who's on there. If you're on the bus, you're rough, tough, and dirty. That's what it is. You ride the rough, tough, and dirty. That's my inner city friends. That's one. I mean, I rode it downtown. Every morning you'd almost want to call the police and say, all those people you're looking for, I found all of them. Come and get on my bus.
Wow.
I mean, it is chaos, and it always has been. And in part because the bus driver has little or no control on what's going on behind them.
Yeah.
And if you were going to be a person that is going to, I don't know, say want to do your intravenous drugs, it is really easy to get onto a bus and do them in the traveling, because you're not going to bump into any police officers. If you go into the Starbucks bathroom, you go into the library bathroom, you're in a set location. You have a chance for someone to discover you or the police. So oftentimes I witnessed illegal things happening on the buses because of that. And the other part is altercations. For whatever reason, on the buses, we seem, and even light rails, we get very, very protective and very aggressive very, very quickly. Mostly, I think, also because most of the people on the buses normally not having a good day already. Right. There's not a lot of things that are positive in your life at that point. So, yeah.
While it's always been tough, it has gotten worse, and people are talking about just how bad it's gotten right now. RTD bus driver vacancy remains at around 16% for light rail operators, 21%.
The light rail one's interesting because that's easier because you're in a little box. You don't have to deal with all the crap.
Right.
That's the one that I can't figure out. Why is that one?
They're offering up to $80,000 a year and a $4,000 signing bonus. They still can't get people.
Jeez.
It's because they're getting whapped. I mean, it's the smell of drugs. So they're smoking in the buses. Mm-hmm. And when you turn around to try to confront these people, there's a story in this article in the Denver Post about basically like they had to force them out, run back in. The person was banging on the windows and throwing things at the bus. So it is it's serious. If you're an RTD bus driver, man, you're next level. Your back is towards these guys.
Yes, you can't see anything. And the other part is that understand when the bus is in motion, you can't do a thing. Right. There's nothing you can do. And God forbid you pull over and try to deal with whatever's happening behind you, because now you're behind. So everybody else down that line now thinks that you're the idiot that couldn't get on, and they may miss their connection. They may be late wherever it is. One of my children, after turning 18, got jury duty. And the case they were involved in was a grown-ass man and a bunch of teenagers between 16 and 20 getting into a full-on rumble on the bus. And why did it start? Because someone had their feet out in the aisle. And that was too much of an offense. That had to be dealt with. In fact, it had to be dealt with so severely, it had to lead to a beating. Jeez. That's how we were dealing with it.
It's like that guy that shot somebody over their feet out there.
And the issue being, you've got your feet in the aisle. Okay, so we're not being nice enough to whoever's coming down the aisle to even move out of the way. Right. But then we're going to be a jerk because of it. And we're going to escalate it to the point where now we have to go punchy. Like, come on.
This is going to affect operations. The shortages of bus drivers and rail operators for years have impeded RTD's efforts to ensure a reliable service, let alone increase the frequency of service. Maintenance disruptions this summer will reduce ride frequency on key routes. But RTD officials have said that due to the shortage of bus drivers, they'd be hard-pressed to provide temporary bus bridge shuttles to help riders reach their destinations.
Yeah, and there are people out there that need this service.
Do you give up on it?
Oh, the problem is I can't give up on it only because I have people in my life that do depend upon it, that I know there are people that are on those buses that are just trying to get to work, that are just trying to get to school. My oldest son being an example of that. We've talked about, again, going back to his brain injury, but he lacks many executive planning skills. What that means is the biggest way you can think about it, you get in your car and you can, in your mind, plan what your path is to work. You can see all the turns, you can see all the roads. He can't. He doesn't recognize the road until he gets it. Every day is a routine, but he can't see ahead. So he can't plan. So what happened is he can't drive in. So it took him forever to drive. So he had to depend on the bus, the rough, tough, and dirty, to get him to his school to get his associate's degree. He had to ride that bus every single day.
Would it be cheaper, though, to just subsidize Uber or Lyft?
It depends on
personal drive as opposed to having to pay an entire salary for someone to get beat in the back of the head.
I know. And
drug user.
Here's the issue. It is pay-wise, the amount of money that we paid, it was incredibly inexpensive to get him on the bus. Incredibly inexpensive. I mean, 15, 20 bucks a month, something like that. I mean, it's nothing.
That's what you guys, but the government having to
I know the government
subsidize
does.
RTD and
The
stuff.
issue that I've got with the subsidies for Uber is I worry about the idea that Uber is just going to say, now we have this free money and now our rates are just going to go up. Same thing that we see like in student
colleges.
loans. Exactly. That's exactly my friend. That's why we're friends. Exactly. That's exactly where we went. The idea of the colleges is the same thing. That's what I'm worried about. That unless you institute price controls, and that's a whole nother conversation, I don't think that the Uber and Lyft can be that subsidy. But personally, would love to, because I think that giving those people that need that transportation, the Uber or Lyft option is a much better option. Yeah. Plus, private individual, they can make the money. Yeah, exactly, sir.
Men, you've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more. But I want to talk to you about your love drive, because low testosterone can have a significant impact on your desire for intimacy. And if you're in a relationship or wanting to be in a relationship, a low love drive can be a real problem. There's good news. Go to RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com and take the low T quiz on their website. It's a simple 10-question quiz with only yes or no answers, and it takes 2 minutes. Then schedule a consult. With Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, a Colorado licensed medical provider will review your results with you and discuss your options. The cost of the appointment is only $99, which includes medical consult, a T and PSA test. If you sign up for testosterone treatment, the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic has served the Front Range of Colorado for nearly a decade and successfully treated tens of thousands of men. Call them today at 720-440-7900. That's 720-440-7900, or visit RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. That's RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
It's been a great show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com to download the podcast. Geoge Teal joined us in the 6 a.m. hour to give us some breaking news. Douglas County and El Paso counties are suing the state of Colorado because they want to have their law enforcement be able to work directly with federal immigration officials. This is a big lawsuit. We got the breaking news. In fact, they haven't even done the press conference on that. That's going to be here in a few minutes. So we'll continue to track that news. Appreciate George joining us for that. David Williams, not the Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado GOP, but David Williams, president of the Taxpayers Protection Association, joined us on this very special broadcast of the Jeff and Bill show on tax day. So give us some insight as to who has better tax policies, Trump or Biden. Trump or Biden.
That was
Freudian
nice.
slip.
That was really nice. And of course, we all celebrated the giant government checks we're getting because taxes are
all that
so
tax
low.
refunds.
Oh, wonderful. I appreciate earlier when Mr. Teal was joining us, because the question I've got is how many illegal aliens are committing crimes inside of our cities and our communities? Oh, we don't know. Thanks to the Dems.
Yeah.
Because of how they wrote the law.
Right.
Maybe we should figure that out. Do you think?
8 a.m. Rabbi Hillel Goldberg joined us for an update on Israel. That was a fantastic conversation. You don't want to miss that. All at 710 KNUS. Charlie Kirk's up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Brandon Tatum tomorrow. News Talk 710 KNUS.